Welcome in to Check the Mic. Steve Palazzolo, Sam Monson. We're live on YouTube. Happy NFL Draft Eve, Sam. It's tomorrow. It's the day before the day of the thing where the picks are going to be made.
The day before. It is the night before the draft, and all was quiet, etc.
I see some people, they like to watch Draft Day the night before as a tradition. I haven't gone that far yet, but interesting.
I hate that movie so much.
Interesting way of doing it. Well, this is your day, everybody. This is your day. Are you sick? Are you sick of reading these mock drafts? Are you sick of the worst mock ever? Are you sick of people hating on your team and their needs and how they mock? Well, this is your chance to silence all the critics, silence all the bad mock drafters. It is the viewer mock draft. This is one of my favorite days of the year because it's all on you. I'm just going to sit back. This is your mock. I'm going to put this out there, and you guys are all going to get the hate when we tweet this out. You're going to have the worst mock draft ever. Get ready. But no, it's all going to be fun because we're voting on every pick with the listeners.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. And if you haven't checked out our video where we've got every analyst we get to reply with a video, we got their favorite prospect in this draft. 28 analysts give 28 favorite players, although some of them overlap. But that's out there on our YouTube channel right now. It's gotten tremendous feedback, Steve. Tremendous positive feedback, which is rare in this channel. We don't tend to get universal positive feedback.
Good work by you. It was your idea. It's your baby. So, yeah, I encourage everybody to go, if you're on the YouTube channel, in the video section, it wasn't live, go to the video section and check it out. I enjoyed going through it just to hear which names. My only regret is that I didn't put Willie Lampkin as my favorite. I kind of want to redo. Can we rerun it? I want to add Willie as my guy. All right. So here's what we're going to do. We're doing a first round mock. It's not a 7-rounder or a 3-rounder or anything. One round. We will give you 4 options. Okay. So bear with us. Sam and I will talk through who we think the best options are. Don't complain about the options. All right. If you complain enough, maybe we'll adjust it. We'll see what happens. Like pick 1, it's probably going to be Cam Ward, but I got to give you 4 options anyway. Do not screw it up. Okay. Don't screw it up, viewers, but you get to vote. So we'll put in a poll, 4 players. Maybe it's only 2 players. Maybe we'll only put Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders at the top. Now we'll give you all the options and you guys vote and then we'll input it into the mock draft simulator. We're also going to tell you about our friends over at PickPool. Just keep that in mind. After 10 picks, PickPool's got a great contest for you to win prizes and predict the draft. PickPool.app online or the PickPool app on iOS. We're going to talk to you about that after pick 10 because your mock draft is going to be entered into the PickPool contest here. So be ready for that. Go check out the app, though, and we'll talk about that after pick 10. Are we ready to go? Any other housekeeping other than we're live tomorrow night? Is everybody joining us live tomorrow night?
I would hope so.
Starting at 7. All right, ready? Let's roll. We're starting with pick 1. All right, see what I'm looking at here. We're starting with pick 1. Tennessee Titans are on the clock here, Sam. And we have to give the chat 4 options. So here's my thought. Obviously, Cam Ward, and we're expecting that to be the one. But Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, and Shedeur Sanders as the other 3 options, and then we let the people decide. So you gotta put in your vote. We've had a couple runoffs historically. We've had a couple where it's too close to call, and then we have a runoff, right? So 2 players win out of the 4, and then they have too close to call. Now I'm not putting Genty in the top 4. So there's the poll. You can vote. I'm going to vote here on my second screen. I'm going to vote for Cam Ward, not to give it away. He's the early leader, and we'll run it for a little bit, and then I might just call it. Cam Ward's up at 74%.
Pretty quickly.
All right, Cam Ward, 76 votes are in, and it's we could call it. The pick is in. It's Cam Ward. Travis Hunter was second at 14%. Good job, viewers. Good job. Your mock draft has started great. Cam Ward to the Titans at number 1 overall. That puts the Browns up on the clock at number 2 here, Sam. I definitely want Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter, of course, and then Shedeur Sanders. Is there a 4th that we should put in there, or just those 3?
Definitely, the 3 that we just did. Is there any other player that you would throw in there? It's really not, isn't it? It's just those 3.
No, I don't even want to. I don't think we should mess with the vote. I would just give those 3. Maybe Jackson Dart.
I mean,
I'm telling you, I am. I am hearing the buzz, man. All the people that put in bets that Dart is going over Shedeur or Shedeur's not QB2, that is looking stronger right now.
What if the Browns are one of the couple of teams that have Tyler Shook as QB1?
But they're smart enough to wait till the second, pick 33.
Maybe not any. The buzz for him is going insane as well. First round.
I don't know, man. I have to remind myself that 2 years ago, Will Levis, the day of the draft, leading up to the draft, day of the draft, he was the favorite to go number 2 overall. The favorite. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. I said Browns and smart in the same sentence. I think the team building effort's been good outside of the Deshaun Watson move.
Outside of the worst move in NFL history, it's been a solid team building effort.
It's the worst, most important move. It was owner generated rather than front office generated, because what the front office has done has been pretty good.
Allegedly,
and what
owner generated.
I think it's owner generated. I think it was owner led, and they've done a nice job otherwise. So the Browns polls live. Travis Hunter at 66%. Abdul Carter's second at 21%. It looks like that's going to be the pick here. Travis Hunter, number 2 to the Browns. I think we could wrap that one up. Domination for Travis Hunter. We got a chalk start here for our mock draft, and I have a feeling it's going to continue with the Giants at 3.
Both in real life and in the viewer mock, where this is how it's supposed to be. We have
a suggestion for Alfred Collins at number 3 here for the New York Giants. I don't think he'll be an option. So certainly at number 3, I like this is flowing well. Will, nice job working the viewer polls. Abdul Carter, certainly the most common option here at 3. We got to put Dart in there.
Do we?
You got
3?
Yeah. You got Todd McShay over there theorizing like, oh, if they really want Dart, you got to figure out where you got to get him. You either take him at 3 or I don't know.
Well, both QBs are going to be in then.
Shedeur, Abdul Carter, and Mason Graham.
As
the 4th. Or Ashton Genty. As a Saquon replacement.
They can't take, no. Throw in Mason Graham and throw that 4 up.
Now, Peter Schrager, newly of ESPN, always has an interesting mock draft every year. He does 1. I like the insiders who do 1. Peter King would always just do 1, right? And it's like this culmination of sourcing. And Schrags always has a few curveballs in there. Thought exercises, as I like to say, things that we haven't seen yet. And he's actually been pretty accurate over the last couple of years. He's, nailed a couple extra picks versus others. And Schrager has Mason Graham falling to 13 to the Dolphins, and Tyler Booker going at 12 to the Cowboys. A couple other, interesting picks in there from Peter Schrager.
The Graham thing is kind of interesting because his measurements, I wouldn't say they were concerning, but they're not good relative to this. He was being talked about as one of the best players in this draft period. And then all of his sort of measurements completely belied that. And we've just kind of given him a pass on that, everybody collectively. And nobody's really talked about him that much in this draft. We've talked about the picks that we expect to go just above him and the picks that we expect to go below him. And he's just kind of skated on by without anybody really focusing too much on him overall. I think focusing on the measurements, etc., would be overthinking him, but that doesn't mean the NFL won't do that.
Yeah, I mean, you still Abdul Carter is going to be the pick for the Giants, by the way. Domination in the poll here. Give the Abdul Carter the Giants. Mason Graham, yeah, I mean, I think he's a fantastic player, but much like Marvin Harrison Jr. still went number 4 overall last year, but you still like to have all those boxes ticked before you make that pick in the top 5. All right,
so Patriots, it gets interesting.
So for the Patriots at 4, I think the players you have to have Will Campbell. I think you have to have Armand Membu just to say, okay, here's the next tackle option.
Right.
And then I would say there's like a little bit of Ashton Genty buzz discussion at least. And then I would debate like Mason Graham or Tetairoa McMillan.
I don't think Mason Graham is in play for them having signed Milton Williams.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
But
I've just always viewed Graham as the last blue chip non-running back, right? That's how I still view him.
I think those two tackles, I think Tedero and McMillan has to be here, and maybe Genty is the fourth. Who would be your fourth?
I think you have to put Genty up there.
Okay, then I think that's the four.
So McMillan, to me, it would be debating McMillan versus Mason Graham. I'm good with McMillan just to give them a receiver option if the people want that.
Yeah, he wouldn't be a name I would be entertaining at 4, but I think he is the fourth name that would be in consideration here.
All right, let's do that. So, yeah, Will Campbell, Armand Membu, Tedero McMillan, Ashton Genty will be the 4 options here for New England. It is, as expected, Travis Hunter 2, Abdul Carter 3 in this mock. Is there any chance that flips? I mean, when we first felt like the Browns weren't going to take a QB, I thought it would be Abdul Carter at 2 for them to have a pairing with Myles Garrett, even though I'd rather have Travis Hunter. But yeah,
I mean, there's a chance. A lot of it depends on, like, Travis Hunter's value, I think, is so incredibly broad depending on what exactly your plan is for him. You know, you've talked about him being 1.5 players effectively. Like, if that's true, he's the most valuable player in this draft outside of a quarterback, probably by a distance. But if it isn't really true and he's actually just, you know, one player either at cornerback or receiver that plays a few snaps of the other, I mean, then you can definitely construct an argument that if you think Abdul Carter is just a better player, he's the more valuable player.
Yeah, that's the debate. Yeah, I mean, I would rather Travis Hunter. We're not doing trades right now. We're not doing trades, guys. I don't think we can trade in the viewer mock. We had a question: are the viewers trying to be predictive or what they would do? I think you want to be more predictive in this one. But who am I to stop you? It's your vote. You do whatever you want with it.
Yeah, it's will of the people. Vox populi. You can do whatever you want. Can't stop you.
You've earned the right, to vote here. So what do we have? 163 picks are in, or votes are in. Will Campbell looks like he's going to be the winner. I thought Membu might give him more of a run, but Will Campbell's going to be the pick.
Yep.
The people have been influenced by all the buzz. All right, here's what people predict is the first curveball. A lot of Ashton Genty buzz here. Number 5, Jacksonville Jaguars on the clock. I think you have to have Mason Graham.
Yep.
I think you have to have Tedero McMillan, and I think you have to have Ashton Genty.
And then I think the fourth name would be, I'd throw Membu in there as well for an offensive lineman.
Yeah, I would be fine with that. Is there any other name we should be thinking about? I got my paperwork. I got all my stuff. Oh, Tyler Warren.
At 5?
Look, I mean, you can't say at 5 incredulously when you've regularly put him at 7 to the Jets. And we're talking about a 4th option here for the Jags.
I mean, I think you can. You can argue it's one of the Jets' most glaring needs. I don't think you can make the same argument for the Jags.
Who's their tight end? They don't have a tight end.
I think we had those. I mean, I think you put an offensive lineman there before you put a tight end.
Do we have Luke Farrell?
Genty, McMillan, and Mason Graham are definitely 3. And then I would have Membu as the 4th option over Warren.
I mean, tight ends, Brenton Strange, Johnny Munt. Luke Farrell's not there. All right. I mean, I don't care. I don't think the 4th guy's going to win anyway. But let's put Membu. 4. So those are the 4 options for the Jags at 5. I think they are a bit. We've gone Mason Graham consistently. You had James Gladstone coming in from the Rams. And look, I love this. Just like, how John Schneider and the Seahawks were kind of unique. They were unique drafters for years. They always had a unique first-round pick, different style. The Rams have their own style of drafting and trading around the board, and now we get to see more of that with James Gladstone and the Jags, bringing the Rams system to Jacksonville. The other interesting thing about that, though, is he was such a late GM hire. I really don't know. I don't know how much he's able to implement. They hired him just before free agency. I don't know how much time you have in the offseason to put your systems in place and how much you can actually bring with you. So I don't know how Ramsey this is going to look for the Jags in year one.
Also, I mean, who knows what exactly that is? Like, the Rams have had weird strategies in the draft, the principle of which was not having draft picks at the front of the draft. So I'm not sure we know what a Rams draft looks like at the high end of the first round. Like, that's a complete unknown prospect, even if he is, you know, institutionally the same in terms of philosophy as the place that he just left. Like, we don't have a great idea of what exactly that would look like in this type of situation. The Jags are the interesting team, though, because, you know, we've had months of draft analysis and projection and blah, blah, blah. But where it starts to really get interesting is 48, 72 hours out from the draft. That's when all that insider information that you talk about starts to circulate. You know, the likes of Schrager's mock and all those kinds of things. That's when that info really starts to leak, you know, deliberately or otherwise. And the Jags, I think, are definitely one of the teams this year where all of a sudden people were like, hey, start thinking about them drafting offense at 5. Like, everyone's been saying Mason Graham to the Jags, just plug it in. It makes too much sense. And I still think it does. But as soon as the sort of, you know, 72 hours out smoke insider info started to leak, it's like, don't ignore the Jags being Genty landing spots or McMillan landing spots.
All right, the poll, I think it's over. Mason Graham's going to be the pick here for the Jags, only 6% higher. So he comes in at 37%, Ashton Genty at 31% for the viewers. So Genty comes in second. So I think that's the first potential curveball. Not for our viewers, though. They're going Mason Graham. This has looked like many other mock drafts that we've done to this point so far. But then the Raiders become a second curveball. So I think the Ashton Genty definitely has to be in the mix here. There are some pretty fierce Kelvin Banks rumors for the Raiders. And so I think you have to have Membu and Kelvin Banks here for the Raiders at 6. Genty, of course, and then who should be the 4th? Is that McMillan as well?
Yeah, some people have been putting Jahdae Barron there. I think is an interesting one.
Yeah, but the arm length and Pete Carroll. People don't like that one.
He also drafted
Will Johnson, still the top consensus corner available here.
He also drafted Witherspoon, though.
He did, but his arms aren't that short, are they?
No, they're not. But he's also, like, it's not that Pete Carroll is going to stick to that rigid cover 3, you know, 6'4" long corner thing.
No, that's true. I just don't know if you're going to put Barron that high. I would consider Will Johnson or Tetaroa McMillan. Shedeur. People want Shedeur Sanders as an option here. That'd be some kind of curveball. I mean,
I was in on that before they gave
we could do it.
Before they gave Geno the significant extension.
Add him as the 4th. Genty, the 2 offensive linemen. And by the way, even though, like, we've been, I think, laser focused. How's that? Laser focused on Membu as offensive tackle 2. It wouldn't be crazy if Kelvin Banks was the second tackle off the board for the whole process right up until the combine when Membu crushed it. It was pretty much Campbell first, Banks second. I'll also say it does feel like every year we did this with Paris Johnson. Do we have the poll going here? So let me and then I'll mention this. So there we go. Okay, Genty, Banks, Membu, or Shedeur Sanders, get your vote in for the Raiders at 6. We had Paris Johnson as like, hey, this guy could go in the teens. I remember Mike McGlinchey. This guy could go in the teens. Paris Johnson was going to go as high as 3. He went 6. Mike McGlinchey went 9 as like a mid-first round. Like, the tackles tend to go a tick higher because of the positional value and the scarcity. So the Kelvin Banks top 10 hype makes some sense to me. Yeah,
and we'll get later into this where
we might have a runoff situation. We might have a runoff.
We've looked at this offensive line group and been like, I don't know how great it is, and we're kind of pushing them down a lot. But again, this sort of wave of insider info, it's like, don't sleep on this offensive line group. There might be 10 of them going in the first round. And, you know, I saw like Great Zabel. We've been wondering how high you push him. I saw somebody say, I think it was Schrager, saying he could go as high as, I think, 12 or 13 or something like that. Like this offensive line group as a whole, maybe not at the very top of the draft, but overall, I think there's going to be more first round offensive linemen than we've been projecting so far.
All right. I think we need to, I think we need to cancel this one and we're going to have a runoff. I think we need a separate poll, Ashton Genty versus Armand Membu. They were tied at 39%. We need a runoff here. So this is what we're looking at for the Raiders, Genty or Membu at 6. I know DJ Glaze had a decent run at right tackle. He's not keeping me. Like, the reason why you draft tackles up here is because of that value. Because if you go to the value chart here, the tackle, so if they get Membu, he'd be the 19th highest paid right tackle in the NFL right off the bat. Whereas if you get a running back, he's the 13th highest paid. Sorry, he'd be 19th versus 13th highest paid running back. That's why you consider the tackle. Like if you took a center here, he'd be the 7th highest paid center. So you got to consider those things.
Well, that combined with what it looks like lower in the draft, like the whole point about one of the aspects of the running back thing is, you know, we love the options that are going to be available in the mid rounds. None of them are Ashton Genty, but several of them might be impact starters lower down. Whereas if you want an offensive lineman to come in and be your starter, you need to get him at the top of the draft because those guys are not as easily found in the mid rounds at all.
Yeah. You kick DJ Glaze into guard, or if you don't want to sign Colton Miller to $23 million a year, go over to left tackle. Yeah, he played right tackle in college, but we see last year, Joe Alt went from left tackle in college to right tackle in the NFL. Talise Fawanga, right to left. J.C. Latham, right to left. These flips happen all the time. There's no such thing as left tackle, right tackle anymore, even though Latham's moving back to the right. How are we looking here? Looks like Membu's going to be the pick here. Yeah. 57-43. So Genty's fallen. We got a Genty fall right here. Let's call it for Membu. He's the pick at 6 for the Raiders. That puts the Jets up on the clock at 7. So Membu had been a pretty common pick for them. I think Kelvin Banks should be in play. Teteroa McMillan should be on there. I wouldn't put Genty here.
Warren has to be in there.
Who'd you say?
Warren. Tyler Warren.
Tyler Warren for you. And who else? Would they have they signed Brandon Stevens at corner, but should they be a corner option or an edge? Now, McShay, I'm just seeing whatever McShay's putting out on social. He said he's here in defensive player for the Jets. I think there was some Jahdae Barron rumors for the Jets at 7.
Yeah, Barron would be the last one I would put in there.
All right, let's do that. So we have that right? Yeah, Kelvin Banks, Teteroa McMillan, Tyler Warren, Jahdae Barron. So those are the options for the Jets here at 7. Are we looking at Genty to the Bears at 10 now? I don't think. I guess the Saints will have Genty in their options at 9.
Also, do we have to put him in at 8 for Dr. Eager?
Because we said that's who they're definitely going to pick, right? That's who we said they're going to pick. This is your mock draft. If you're just tuning in, viewer mock draft, we're going through putting a poll up for every single pick. Tyler Warren is looking like the runaway winner here. This is everybody just reading all the feedback and going with the consensus. You guys are just going with what everybody's been feeding you this entire time. That's what's happening.
So not just me, is what you're saying.
You've been feeding. People are trusting you. This is the worst mock ever. That is correct. Man, I would take. If you want a pass catcher, I would be taking Teteroa McMillan over Tyler Warren all day. But that's me.
It might be the chalkiest mock draft ever.
Yeah, it kind of is. Let's call it for Tyler Warren. 42% have gone Tyler Warren to the Jets at 7 overall here. Panthers are up at 8. This is another interesting one. All the defensive players and probably Tet Aroa.
Yeah, Tetaroa, and then pick 3 edge rushers. Is that what they're doing?
I think I would put the 2 Georgia guys there. A lot of smoke around Mykel Williams. I'm starting like of all the rumors that I'm starting to buy, it's the Mykel Williams closer to the top 10 and maybe to the Saints at 9. I'd put Jalen Walker and Mykel Williams there. I don't know if they'll be in on Mike Green. I don't know if I'm ready to put him as one of the options just yet. I would put McMillan. And
Jihad Campbell?
Yeah, you could put Campbell there. I mean, I think
this is his highest potential landing spot.
I think you could start putting Campbell in a whole bunch of spots here. At least by maybe not 11, but probably by 12 again with the Cowboys, and then like that whole stretch of 12 through 20. I think Campbell's an option. Is that what you want to do?
Yeah, I think so.
Add Jihad Campbell in there. Will, you're doing a great job. Polls coming out quickly. People are voting. Can't speak to the voters themselves. They're all right. But production value, producers doing a great job. It's going to be real chalky with Jalen Walker getting selected here, isn't it?
It's close. Walker and McMillan's pretty tight.
Good discussion with Chris Sims. I like to hear everybody's takes on Travis Hunter and Jalen Walker. I like to hear all of them. You see Walker pretty low on the PFF board here. Chris Sims, we had him on the show yesterday. If you guys didn't catch it, he wasn't a big fan of Walker, and some of the concerns that we brought up. You know, is it too much versatility? Master of none? What's he going to be? Is he too small for a top 10 edge rusher? Like, they're fair questions.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, I'm not concerned by those things. I think the jack of all trades thing is definitely a worry if you're not elite at something. But I think he is elite at something. Like I'm not worried about him in the same way as some of these other tweener players, because I do think that you just make him a full-time edge rusher and he absolutely dominates. And I'm not really concerned by the size because the arm length is there, the power is there. Like there's no evidence of the size, I think, showing up as a problem. So I'm not worried by it.
As this is happening, I see Rich Cimini, the Jets beat reporter for ESPN, saying that ESPN's draft predictor has Jalen Walker as the most likely selection at 7 for the Jets.
For the Jets?
For the Jets. A player. So we didn't just give him as an option there. But like I was saying, like I think we've been locked into this. They have a right tackle need. They need help on offense, but Aaron Glenn comes in, defensive coach, and that supposedly they're locked in on a defensive player here.
I mean, that's interesting because he's on the PFF one.
He's what?
He's nowhere on the PFF one in terms of most likely options for them.
Yeah, but again, that's influenced by the board because he's 30 and on the board.
I don't think any defensive
by PFF
anywhere near the top for them.
It's just I wouldn't you just can't because it's so skewed by what their initial board is. I think we're close enough.
Defensive players in that spot, which is not Jalen Walker.
Should we go? So it's 39% for Jalen Walker, 35% for Tedero and McMillan. Should we go runoff for that or call it for Jalen Walker? Is that significant enough? 39 to 35.
We got we were over 200. I would just call it.
I think you got to go between 1 or 2 percentage points for the runoff. All right, Jalen Walker's the pick here for the Panthers at 8. So here's where it really gets interesting, Sam. Am I all of the smoke that I'm inhaling? All of the rumors that I'm buying are probably surrounding the Saints. I think there's enough from the Saints. Jalen Walker, the pick at 8, guys. That's it. There's enough coming from the Saints. I don't even want to give them Shedeur Sanders as an option here at 9. I don't think it's a smokescreen that they're out on Shedeur Sanders.
They should definitely have Sanders as an option.
I believe that they like either Dart or Shuck better than him, and that they're going to go Trench's pick at 9 here.
Maybe, but I don't think you can take that off the board as an option.
Our people are going to go Shedeur Sanders, and they're going to, like, when they put their, we're putting this entry into PickPool. If you want to compete, I wouldn't go Shedeur Sanders here.
Well, what if all of the people that listen are right and you're wrong?
I don't think that's true.
I mean, maybe, but that's how democracy works.
Are we a democracy or are we a republic here? Anyway, let's go. I don't want to put Shedeur there. You got to put Genty, Mykel Williams. Next best defensive player. And if you want to put Shedeur Sanders, that's fine. I mean, Sanders or Dart.
I think you could put both quarterbacks and the two other players.
Even though I think they are more likely to just pass on a quarterback here at 9, and we're going to make that half the options.
Well, maybe, but if like they need a quarterback and they're sitting there at 9, one of whom who's been a consensus top player in this thing from the get-go and is sliding is still available. Another one who's gone in the opposite direction and has been rising is available. Maybe just put quarterback as an option, and then if quarterback wins, we can have a runoff and decide which one they're picking. But you can't not have quarterback as an option for the Saints at 9.
Man, the chat is giving, and this is the Saints. They are the biggest wild card, I think. I said this about 5 different teams. One of the biggest they're the most intriguing team, I think, to me in this draft. Because somebody just suggested Shamar Stewart. That's something the Saints would do. They could use offensive linemen, Kelvin Banks. They could use a receiver, Tedero McMillan, Mykel Williams, and they need a QB.
All right, we'll stick 3 players and quarterback as an option, and if quarterback wins, we can decide which one.
Okay, so QB is one of the just the abbreviation QB, and then we'll have a QB vote.
So QB, Genty. Who are the other 2?
Genty, Mykel, and McMillan, or Mike Green.
Is there need more acute inside and Walter Nolan as an option over Mykel?
No, I don't think so. I don't know. It's close. I mean, I think they've used high draft picks on both. They draft defensive linemen, you know, and they have in recent years, and they haven't been great. And then they need help for Chris Olave. They need chat's asking for Will Howard, like my son Benny did, number 1 overall. They need receiver help. Kelvin Banks should be an option here with what's happened as far as the offensive line. Trevor Penning last year of his contract. They have a guard need. I would go Mykel Williams here to go with Genty, Tedero, McMillan, and QB.
Okay.
That work?
Yep.
Or the Bears trade up for Genty, as the chat suggests. This is it. Boy, what's it going to be? Mykel Williams out to an early lead. So that's the one. Peter Schrager saying he's going to go a little bit higher than expected. That was the one I think Chris Sims said yesterday. He's like, people around the league are saying. So when you start to get, I think, multiple people saying the same thing, that's where I start to buy the rumors more, Sam. It's when multiple people start saying similar things.
Yeah, but all that means is that they're hearing the same thing from similar people. I mean, if a team is actively trying to put that out, that's how that works.
I know. We got to go back. We need to have we should make a list of all the rumors and then go back and see what was true. Well, you don't always know.
Like Williams is winning the poll.
He is. Did I influence people too much on that?
Probably.
Like if we put Mike Green there, would Mike Green have won?
That's the thing.
The people don't want quarterback.
Well, quarterback is second. They want quarterback more than they want Genty or McMillan.
So, like last year, there were rumors, the Giants are trying to trade up for a quarterback, and then on draft night, they don't. But it was true. They were trying. It's just the Patriots didn't want to give up Drake May, right? So a lot of times the rumors are true. They just don't show up. Just doesn't materialize,
All right, I think we can call it from Mike L.
Call for Michael Williams. So only question is, do we want to have, because we limited their options, do we want to have Michael Williams versus Mike Green versus Shamar Stewart?
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. Since the edge rushers are kind of crazy and interchangeable,
Let's do that.
I think it's reasonable to have a runoff between the three of them.
So let's have an edge rush runoff for the Saints. Michael Williams, we'll let the people really vote here, versus Mike Green versus, who do we say? Shamar Stewart. I would love to see Shamar Stewart to the Saints at 9 here. I want this. Wow, good job, Will. Moving quick here. It's a runoff for the Saints. Let's tweet this thing out. You guys want to do? You guys want to have a fan poll? Who's the next pick? Every pick tomorrow night when we're live. Probably don't have time for that.
Who would you pick of these three for the Saints?
I mean, if Mike Green's my guy, if he's my edge 2, if he's available and we're okay with whatever happened off we're gonna have to have another runoff. This thing's close, man. Mike Green would be my guy.
We can't have another runoff. We're just gonna call it at a certain number of votes.
We're gonna call it. It's gonna be close.
Call it at whatever the 200th vote puts it at.
Michael's running away with it. I'm just glad Michael Williams has confirmed his selection here. This would be back-to-back Georgia Bulldogs off the board here at 8 and 9 in the NFC South. It looks like it's going to be Michael. This is a good battle here. Yeah, it looks like Michael's going to win it. Let's do it. Michael Williams. Double confirmation. That guy just dominates elections. Right. Now for the Bears.
Yeah, the Bears.
Bears at 10. We should just give Ashton Genty as an option. See how he does. He's running against himself. I would say Ashton Genty and then the couple edges that we just talked about, maybe a Walter Nolan, Will Johnson, because I took him for and that Bears fans were upset. Kelvin,
where
Banks.
did they go in Schrager's mock?
Let me see in the chat here. Schrager has the Bears. So he has the Colts trading up to 10.
That's
to
true,
take Colston Loveland, and then the Bears take Kelvin Banks at 14. I think Banks should be an option. Definitely Banks, Genty, and then maybe Mike Green, Shamar Stewart.
Man, I don't know if they're going. If I want to give them 2 defensive line options at this spot.
All right, pick one. I mean, I would Tedero McMillan to go with Roma Dunze and DJ Moore. I'm just saying. We have a Tyler Warren's already gone at 7. He's off the board. He cannot be one of the guys.
I mean, maybe Colston Loveland's an option.
Yeah, that's fine. Let's do that. Haven't seen that. I think he's going to get about 70% of the vote here. I think it's moot. And then are you equipped to talk PickPool right after this? Just be ready.
We will be.
While you guys are voting, Sam and I are super excited. We're going to introduce PickPool to you guys today. PickPool, a free-to-play app where you can submit your mock drafts and compete against fans for cash prizes on draft night. You can enter PickPool's contest right from your phone by downloading the app for free on iOS or play on the web at pickpool.app. So today we're going to take your picks, your top 10. Your top 10 is going to be entered into 33rd Team's 10-pick mock draft contest right here in a few moments once we finish. If you disagree with the way the rest of the chat is voted today, well, you can sign up and compete directly against us for some cash. So there's a 33rd Team contest. You can go in and you could play. You could play 2 different ways. It's a 10-pick contest, or you could do the whole crazy 32 pick contest if you're locked in on every single pick like we are. But again, you go to pickpool.app for the web, or you can just download PickPool from the Apple App Store. We'll show you this in just a minute, how easy it is to use. It looks like, what I predict, 70% for Genty, 69% for Genty right here. So he is the pick. We have NFL offensive coach calling. I'm gonna have to hold. I'm live on air. Can't take your call.
Maybe
right
you can
now.
get him on.
Sam, you want me to get him on? He's got some takes.
Yeah, just plug him straight in. That's what the big podcasts do.
You know who it is, Sam. It's my guy who he just calls everybody by their school.
Ah.
He'll be like, Iowa State, love Iowa State receiver this year. I'm like, all right, which one? You got to differentiate.
Right. We're going through this. This is showing up, right? I can't. There's too many
Yeah.
windows.
It looks good. This is the PickPool contest entry form you're showing us right
All right.
here.
So you're going to have to tell me who we went for who. We went with Will Campbell for the Patriots, correct?
Will Campbell, Patriots. It was Mason Graham for the Jags.
Yeah.
So this is the official 33rd team contest. Our listeners, Check the Mic listeners, are being put into the contest here to see if we have the best top 10 mock draft. I'm on Membu.
Yeah, and we are entering the listener mock. So you guys choosing, you are going to be the official Check the Mic entry into this PickPool competition.
It's fun. These are our friends. They started all 22. If you guys have
Membu to the Raiders, yep.
Yep. Tyler Warren to the Jets. If you guys have played any all 22 fantasy using PFF grades historically, same guys that came up with that idea. Jalen Walker here for the Panthers, Michael Williams to the Saints, and then Ashton Genty to the Bears. So this will be our official Check the Mic viewer entry. And as I said earlier, you guys can also join. So you just go pickpool.app online right now, or PickPool in iOS, on iOS, download the app, and you guys can be put into the 10 pick contest. They have a 10 pick contest and a 32 pick contest. So go join right now. Have some fun
with some cash prizes. $300 for the winner, $200 or $100 rather for the second place. We've got 4 entries in, of which one of them is the official.
How many?
Check the Mic.
Can you only do one entry? What's the limit here? Or you just sign up from a whole bunch of different usernames, or what's the best way to do that?
Looks like you can do 5 total.
Wow.
Oh, so great. 4 entries were 4 entries left for us. 675 for the competition. We got 325 in there already.
All right, so go hurry up right now. Get one of your entries in. Pickpool.app online or the PickPool app on iOS. All right, we ready for pick 11 here. San Francisco 49ers are on the clock. There's some rumors around Walter Nolan for the Niners at 11. I think Mike Green has to be there.
Yep.
I think all the defensive linemen pretty much have to be there. Who else? Banks. Kelvin Banks.
Walter Nolan, Kelvin Banks, Mike Green, and who's the 4th?
Do we put Shamar Stewart in there again? I think they like D. Winters at linebacker next to Fred Warner. I don't know if this would be a Jahad Campbell spot with all their other D-line needs.
Walter Nolan, Membu, Jahdae Barron is pretty high on their list of frequent. So the 2 corners, Jahdae Barron and Will Johnson.
I think, I don't know if they have Lenore, Renardo Green. I think they could use an upgrade at corner. I thought Will Johnson was a good fit for them before free agency, before their entire D-line got depleted. But, yeah, I think a cornerback option next to Renardo Green with Lenore playing nickel wouldn't be bad.
What is Josh Simmons' ceiling? Because a lot of people have him crazy high in some of these mocks recently.
I mean, the ceiling's high. He honestly,
in terms of the draft,
I think he could go here. If you're if we're giving him at 25 as a developmental tackle option to the Texans, he could be the same thing behind Trent Williams here.
Yeah, like I'm just wondering, does he need to be one of the options rather than trying to shoehorn in an edge rusher?
Let's go Simmons and Banks as the offensive linemen, and then Nolan and Mike Green as the defensive line options.
Okay.
There we go. A lot of needs here for San Francisco. We got a tweet out there telling the people to come vote. 49ers on the clock. How many hours? We got 7 hours tomorrow night, Sam. Are you going to be ready to go? 7 hours tomorrow night.
Easy.
I am fired up. And then 8 hours probably on Friday.
Yeah, this is a tight poll. Close between Green, Walter Nolan, Kelvin Banks, Josh Simmons lagging behind, but the three top ones are pretty close.
I think they're tightest for teams that have the biggest needs. You could see Banks. I would love the Kelvin Banks fit as a year one guard, future tackle replacement for Trent Williams. But then I would also love Mike Green as a pass rusher opposite Nick Bosa, or Walter Nolan as your Javon Hargrave interior pass rush replacement. And it looks like Nolan's going to be the guy. He's got a 37% of the vote, 10% higher than Banks. I think that's the pick here for the Niners.
Yep, it's getting wrapped up.
Let's do it. Let's call it for Walter Nolan. Walter Nolan to the Niners at 11.
That guy's got really interesting. The kind of opinions on him are all over the place. I think he had a pretty broad range of rankings on Arif Hassan's kind of consensus analysis that he does every year. That's really good, worth checking out.
It's interesting that there's some people, when I watched him on film, I was like, this is the type of guy who gets picked in the top 10. And I don't know if any of the other questions stemmed from, was it Dane said, hey, Texas A&M didn't say great things about him before he left, but he still went to Ole Miss and had really productive year as part of that loaded Ole Miss defensive line. So I think he's fantastic as a player. There's no idea off the field if that's going to be an issue. Cowboys at 12, Tetero and McMillan for sure. And then I think next best edge should be discussed. And now, Peter Schrager had Tyler Booker going this high.
Yeah. So this has been a common spot. We've seen all kinds of picks for Dallas over the entire process. Matthew Golden's had a chunk. This Omarion Hampton was getting a chunk in mocks. That seems to have cooled off recently. But I think you probably have to put those two as options, and then edge rusher maybe as the fourth.
So who'd you say first?
If we're putting McMillan, Matthew Golden, Omarion Hampton, and then Mike Green, an edge rusher.
Okay, what was Jane Slater pretty connected with the Cowboys? She mentioned 3 names, which implied a potential trade down here. 3 names she mentioned yesterday: Walter Nolan, James Pierce, and Matthew Golden. The 3 names she's hearing for the Cowboys. Not necessarily at 12.
Right.
But, if they're available at 18, 20, 22, whatever it might be. Do you go so say again, McMillan and who?
McMillan, Golden, Hampton, and Mike Green, I guess, is the edge rusher.
Okay, yeah. I think that's a good group. Let's do that. Or the trade down. Yeah, we all want to trade down. I think most GMs would rather trade down. And this is where I think a lot of the remember when Kwesi traded from 12 to 30 a few years ago? Yeah. And I'm not saying that was the right. I mean, it didn't work out. That particular move didn't work out. But there's a lot of data that starts to say, okay, you run out on the sure things run out around pick 10, 11. And the difference between 12 and 31 is a lot tighter historically. And so everyone's going to have slightly different ideas. But this is when teams start to think, hey, what's the difference in my board between 12 and 18 or 12 and 22? If I could trade down, grab an extra pick, that'd be the way to go.
And this draft in particular seems to feel a lot like that. Like we keep talking about how it's low on true blue chip superstar players. And then, but even once you clear that group at almost every position, it feels like even more than usual, it's a really tight bunch in the next wave. Like the non-blue chip players seem to be very close together with like middle of the pack players later on. So like everything from the middle of the first round down to like the top of the third seems to be like one giant bunch of players.
All right, so Cowboys at 12 here. This is looking like Teterow and McMillan. Runaway. 56% for him. Matthew Golden second. Hampton and Green way behind here. So I think we call it for Teterow and McMillan as the pick for the Cowboys at 12.
Yep.
I like it. Dolphins on the clock at 13. They've been as common of a Kelvin Banks pick in our world. Every time we've mock drafted. And I think the two corners have to be an option here. Kelvin Banks and Jahdae Barron.
Yeah, it's got to be corner and offensive line, right? The question would be, which other offensive lineman would you throw in there? Simmons or Gray Zabel?
Or maybe Gray Zabel. Yeah, I mean, you could make the case that Patrick Paul penciled in as the starting left tackle option. So that I think if Banks comes in, he could play guard or just compete at tackle. If Zabel comes in, he could play guard, and Patrick Paul's getting his shot at left tackle. Simmons more of a pure tackle. So I'd say let's go Banks and Zabel and the two corners, yeah?
Okay.
I like that. I forget who said it yesterday because, again, I just recite all the rumors here. You guys do what you want with it. Hearing Zabel going as high as 12. And so when I hear that, I'm thinking, hey, the Cowboys have a guard need. They're probably interested in Gray Zabel, and that's where, hey, they would know, seems like everybody that the Cowboys would want, they would rather take them. They're guys that they would rather take at 20, 22, 24. Would love to trade down. But if Zabel is like, he could be an option for Dallas or Miami, but obviously they would rather trade down, get him in the late teens or in the 20s.
I mean, I think anyone outside of the top 10 is going to be pretty interested in trading down. Like that's another thing you're hearing a lot right now, that a ton of teams are going to be interested in trading. And the problem is finding the trade partner that wants to come up. Now, I think some of that will get taken care of by the fact that some of these boards are going to be wildly different. So, we would look at this in consensus terms and say, well, maybe there's none of these edge rushers that you're desperate for. But again, like if you're completely fine with like Mike Green's, sexual assault accusations, and you think we've done the research, there's nothing there, we think that that's fine whatsoever. I mean, you could argue Mike Green belongs in the top 5, the top 10 of this draft. So you might be like, if he's available now, outside of the top 10, you might be a team like Cincinnati or whoever might be desperate to trade up to snag Mike Green because they think he's, like an absolute blue chip player in this draft effectively. So it's going to come down to like how each one of these teams in the second half of the first round views these sort of strange question mark players or positions. I do think there will be some trade partners. It's just there's going to be more sellers than buyers.
All right, man. It looks like Kelvin Banks is going to be the pick here for the Dolphins at 13. 48% of the vote, crushing everybody else. Kelvin Banks at 13. That puts the Colts up on the clock at 14. Is this just going to be Colston Loveland? Is that how everybody's voting here?
Colston Loveland versus the field.
Colston Loveland, Jihad Campbell. I think they're an edge option as well. Shamar Stewart, the freaky athlete. Even though they got the technical edge last year, they're generally a freaky athlete drafting team. They've also, I think they had a visit with Josh Simmons. They might, they've had some turnover on their offensive line. I think they could be an offensive line option as well, but Banks just went off the board.
Yeah, definitely Colston Loveland, definitely Jihad Campbell, and then I would throw in one edge rusher and one something else.
I think we have to put Shamar Stewart just for the workout, right?
What was Mike Green's relative athletic score?
I don't know. I mean that's not what that's not what they're drafting off of. But he had the two really good times. They're not like nobody's using RAS as a thing as a guide.
Well, it doesn't. I mean, it doesn't matter whether they're using it as a guide or they are drafting with their own proprietary protocol that happens to basically match it. The point is, their average player has an absurdly high relative athletic score. So if a guy doesn't, it's absolutely a factor whether
have to
he's
look.
an option for them or not.
I mean, they drafted Latu last year, right? So not every trend is.
Who had a very good workout.
Was missing parts of it, wasn't he? What did he have? Green had great cone. I'm saying, like, I don't need the score to tell you if a guy worked out. You know what I mean? Like Green had good agility drills, so I think that's why part of the reason why he would be in play there as well. I would almost have like put in one edge, and then we could do the edge runoff if we need to. Like if Loveland runs away with it, then go.
Yeah,
Latu didn't have a really good workout. It was all right.
Latu had a 9+ relative athletic score.
Yeah, see, I wouldn't look at that and think it was that good. Okay shuttle, okay cone, okay 40. All at 265. Yeah. All right. Did we give options? Loveland, Campbell, Shamar Stewart, and Josh Simmons. The options here for the Colts. Appreciate everybody.
Anything other than Loveland?
I would be too. I mean, I could see Campbell. Campbell's making a little bit of a run here. It'll probably be Colston Loveland, though. Let me try to figure out what's the tight end valuation if they drafted him here. Where's my handy chart? Colston Loveland would be tight end 29. So here's what's funny, right? This is why this chart is very handy. This is essentially what the APY would be for players drafted at this position. If they drafted an edge, he would be the 58th highest paid edge rusher in the NFL. But the tight end here would be 24th.
Right. 29th, which is still fine. I mean,
yeah. I mean, it's like, but I'm just saying it's when you start to stack up all those edges, that's when you're like edges, not positions. That's when you're able to make other moves down the road.
Yeah,
free up money for other free agent picks, whatever it might be.
I think that kind of surplus value argument disappears once you get outside of the top 10. Like when you look at the way that the contracts for rookie players are slotted, like it's almost in a sort of exponential curve. So and it starts to get really expensive in the top 10. Obviously, less for positions that are getting paid a ton in the NFL, like quarterback, it doesn't matter. It's still really good value if you draft a quarterback in the top 5 picks relative to handing, Trevor Lawrence $55 million a year, right? But where it does start to make a real impact is when you're talking about drafting a non-premium paid position in the top 10, because all of a sudden, you could draft Ashton Genty high enough in this draft where Ashton Genty becomes like the second best paid running back in the league, I think, behind Saquon now. So that becomes a factor. It's like no matter how good he is, you're already paying him like he's the best player at that position. That's not true though once you get to like pick 15, where even though he'd be well paid, it's still a relative bargain. I think it's less about is the tight end bad value and how good is the value at edge or offensive tackle or defensive tackle. That's how I would view it. Once you get into the teens, having a guy that's paid 50th, 58th, 59th, that's extremely good value if that player hits. Anyway, yeah. I just think that's less of a factor at this point in the draft than it is what's the rest of the draft look like if we're not going this position now and we're coming back later in the draft. Like it's a smaller factor than what is my opportunity cost. It's definitely more of a factor in the top 10, as you said, especially with running back and guard and some of those extreme positions. Colston Loveland's going to be the pick here for the Colts at 14. There's your second tight end off the board. Warren at 7, Colts at 14. Puts the Falcons up on the clock at 15 here. And give them all the defensive linemen. Mike Green, definitely. I mean, Jihad Campbell's got to be an option again, right?
Green, Campbell. I think. Do you want to do the edge rush thing? Like pick one and then let the people choose? I would almost do that for the entire D line because I think Kenneth Grant could be in play. I think Derek Harmon could be in play. He might have some sort of medical that's dropping him.
So we go edge, we go DI, we go Jihad
DI,
Campbell, and one other.
Put D tackle and edge as two options, and if we want to have a runoff on those players, do that. And then Campbell, and there's also some like weird. They might pick a receiver rumors. I'm not buying that.
I could buy it for the right guy. I just don't see one here that I would love.
Yeah. Is there any other position we're not thinking of?
This is where, like, just as a broad thing, I mean, corner, we've talked about before, they re-signed Mike Hughes, but how confident can you be in that? Like, are they, again, it kind of depends how you view Will Johnson in particular. Like, I could see teams having him ranked as a top 10 player easily, at which point he becomes value pretty soon.
All right, let's go pick somebody. Edge and DI or DT, whatever, as options. Jihad Campbell.
Yeah.
And pick a corner.
Either Will Johnson or Malachi Starks.
I would go corner over the safety. I'd say Will Johnson.
All right, done. What I was going to say is it becomes interesting, like you were saying, wide receiver. So Emeka Egbuka is this fascinating option in this draft because everyone views him the same. Everyone agrees he's good. The question is, how valuable is the thing he's good at? And a lot of the teams that would be potentially in a wide receiver market in the first round specifically don't need the type of receiver that Egbuka is, right? This sort of cast iron, solid number two, right? Like the Falcons definitely have one of those already. Now, they might have room for a star number one, but there probably isn't one where they're likely to be picking. And there's a couple other teams I think that fit that niche as well, where they've got the number two guy already. And the question is, like, can you do what the Packers do and sort of platoon a receiving core with a series of number twos? Or do you actually need the number one to justify it being a pick at 15, 16, wherever in the first round?
All right, what's the pick here? Looks like edge. We're going to have an edge battle here.
An edge runoff.
So the edge is available. Mike Green, Shamar Stewart, Donovan Ezeraku, Nick Scorton. Is that the next group? Did I miss anybody?
Well, so it depends how you want to rank them. Consensus board or your board or PFF board or whatever.
Let's use the consensus board has Mike Green, Shamar Stewart, James Pierce, Donovan Ezeraku.
Okay.
Let's do that. Mike Green, Shamar Stewart, James Pierce, Donovan Ezeraku.
I think that's a fair four.
We have not laminated yet, but we have things printed. Pull the laminator out later today. Be ready to go. Do you need anything? I usually send you a laminated board or two. Do you need anything laminated before the draft, Sam?
I mean, a laminated Hari board would be pretty awesome.
You use that, you'll reference that. I can get the consensus board laminated for you if that's what you would like.
I would enjoy that a lot.
I could do that. You might have to come pick it up here. I think we should go grab dinner together before we should go. We should meet for dinner, have a little pre-draft dinner, 5:00 tomorrow before the draft.
You full old man, like the early bird dinner somewhere?
It has to be. You got to do an early bird because usually like we're in office together. You know, we order barbecue. We ordered, a nice meal. Let's go to Ruby's tomorrow for, like an early dinner special.
That poll for some reason seems to have like frozen. So we might need to redo that one.
Oh, did it? 9 votes.
Yeah,
froze on
like
9 votes.
And it crashed.
Mike Green, 56%. He had 5 out of the 9 votes. Run it again.
So, yeah, we might have to kill that poll somehow and start it over.
Nicholas Balfour.
Yeah, we would be embracing our inner old man. Like as soon as they open the door somewhere at a restaurant at like 4:00 p.m., rolling right in, getting the early bird special.
I like the suggestion. We should have a poll for dinner. So, which Cincinnati place should we go to? We could go to Montgomery Inn, Skyline, Ruby's, or something else. All right, the poll's back out there. Mike Green, Shamar Stewart, Donovan Ezeraku, and James Pierce. It looks like Green is going to
run away from Mike Green.
Sure is. I'll have to ask Zach what they have on Mike Green if they'd be willing to take him. I would like that pick for the Falcons.
Yeah, I think that would be a great pick for them.
Mike Green picks in. We're an hour into this thing, about halfway through. Looking good.
Again, it's like how you view the off-field stuff. Bruce Feldman had. Let's give the options for the next team first, and then I'll talk about the Bruce Feldman thing.
All right, so the Cardinals, they're almost another one. I would almost want to put positions up there because I think they could go between Barron and Johnson at corner. They could go Jihad Campbell at linebacker. They could go edge or defensive interior. Like, aren't we at this point where the next definitive edge or defensive tackle isn't well defined?
I mean, yeah, I guess
Matthew Golden. I see that suggestion. I think that's fair. Receiver generally. Like if Golden was like a legit 4-2 guy, having him with Marvin Harrison Jr. and Michael Wilson and Trey McBride would be sweet.
Yeah, but literally nobody thinks he is.
Legitimate speed guy to go with that group. I would love.
Okay, so put the three levels or the three. Well, I don't know. So you go edge, defensive tackle again. But Jihad Campbell's got to be there basically on his own. And then are you at corner over or Golden?
Will Johnson, Jihad Campbell, next best edge.
Have too many options here.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. I would almost go Jihad Campbell and then receiver, defensive lineman, or corner.
The defensive lineman will win because it's two different positions jammed together.
I know. They added Dalvin Tomlinson. They've Darius Robinson's boy. Let's go edge. Wouldn't just go like edge, corner, receiver, Jihad Campbell? Or do you want to pick players?
I mean, I think both edge and defensive tackle should be options for them. But the question to me would be corner versus receiver. I think Campbell and both defensive line aspects should be in play, and then it's a question of receiver versus corner.
I think we're stuck on 4 options for YouTube, if that's the question. I would go corner over receiver, I think.
Okay, let's do that then.
Campbell, corner, D tackle, edge. Did it. I mean, Will, great listening.
Oh, Bruce Feldman had an article that was talking about the difficulty of discussing off-field stuff for prospects, right? And how various media members, draft analysts, etc., kind of present that information. And he was talking to Todd McShay, to Daniel Jeremiah, to a few other guys. And it's an interesting thing because it is a struggle. Like I think we've struggled with it for different players, not just this year, but generally. What do you say? How much do you put out there? Because and it's an interesting reading it. It was interesting. I would go check it out. You'll find, just Bruce Feldman, search him on Twitter. You'll find his article. I think people, their instinct is to be vague, right? So because it sort of feels like you're couching it and being a little softer with it. And you're saying, oh, we've heard there's some off-field stuff here. But I think the vaguer you are, the more it can come across as just a kind of directionless bashing of a kid's character, right? Oh, I've heard there's some character concerns here. And you're like, well, that's just lazy. I think the more specific you can be, the better it is. Now, we obviously don't have all the information. So Mike Green is a good example. The specifics for Mike Green is he's had multiple accusations of sexual assault against him. Obviously, the additional part of that is no charges have come from any of those, or at least they've been no conviction. It's all been dropped. Nothing has come from it other than the fact that he was kicked off. Is it Virginia? the school that he was at first. So we don't know whether there was any substance to any of that. And that's the problem, right? Is it's very difficult to be super specific without reaching a conclusion. But I think that's better than saying, there's been some troubling information about Mike Green, because then people's imaginations run riot and you end up I think it's a difficult subject area, and it gets even more difficult potentially when you're talking about James Pierce, where the information is less specific generally. But I'm starting to think now that the more specific you can be about this stuff, the better it is for everybody, rather than trying to be as sort of generous as possible and being vague and just saying, I've heard character concerns.
Well, first off, the corner one, let's get a Jahdae Barron versus Will Johnson corner poll if we can.
Are there any other corners that they would entertain?
I mean, Maxwell Hairston. He's next on the consensus board. If you want to put him in, he's 34 on the consensus board. Again, if a guy goes at 16 who's 34 on the consensus board, this does happen every year, right? Right. It doesn't mean it's crazy. If the Bills are willing to take Maxwell Hairston in the first, why wouldn't the Cardinals? It's not wild.
And then
I would throw Trey Amos there.
Yeah, I would put Amos as my fourth. I don't think Ravel is a great scheme fit for them.
So we could throw Amos in there as the fourth. I don't think, and I think our audience is influenced enough. How do you handle the Isaiah Bond? Because before Isaiah Bond had actual charges, it was more like, hey, nobody, Bama and Texas don't love him.
Right. I think you say it all, right? Like there's now
less specific.
Isaiah Bond's draft stock may be in free fall for multiple reasons. Number one, there's some of that, right, where a lot of people at two different schools don't have great things to say about him. Number two, you've got the 40 thing, which sounds ridiculous, but I think there's probably some signal in that. Like the guy went out there talking big stuff about breaking the record and running a 4.1 and then ran a 4.4, right? If nothing else, that demonstrates to me a certain lack of judgment. And then the third thing is he now has what exactly is his accusation? I don't want to. I can't remember if it was domestic abuse or sexual assault. I don't want to misspeak.
Yeah, same. It was something like that, though.
Let me just check on that before
I mean, T'Vondre Sweat had a DUI prior to the draft last year too that we thought was going to move him from second round to is he going to go before round 4 and then he goes top of the second round. So it is difficult to
Isaiah Bond's arrest was for a sexual assault accusation. He has denied the accusation. His agent has been out there running PR for him already through the insiders, which is its own pretty obnoxious thing. But that's a good point, right? The T'Vondre Sweat thing.
It might not be if he didn't do it, then it's not obnoxious. Because again, we don't know.
It's still no. It's absolutely still journalistically obnoxious to be running interference for the guy. Like there's absolutely no circumstances under which an insider journalist should be publishing. This is the agent's counter to this.
Oh no, you're right. I meant it more as like the agent defending him, which is different from running through the insiders to be like, here's this good guy accused of some stuff.
No, the agent has the right, and Bond has the right to put out whatever they want. An agent shouldn't be like repeating that. They shouldn't be acting as a mouthpiece of the insider, rather. The T'Vondre Sweat thing, though, is a good point because that's why it's important to specify, right? Like a DUI shows its own lapse in judgment, but it's very different from sexual assault. So specifying that, I think, is pretty important rather than just saying, well, these guys both have off-field character concerns, right? And without, well, what is that? Like, I personally, I'm not going to speak for everybody, but I view somebody who has a DUI quite differently to somebody who has a conviction for sexual assault. And I would imagine most people would. So I think specifying those pieces of information is helpful to everybody.
All right, so Will Johnson's the pick here, cornerback at pick 16 for the Arizona Cardinals. We're halfway through round 1 in our viewer mock draft. Cincinnati Bengals up at pick 17 here. We've had them quite often with defensive linemen, and some of our favorite defensive linemen now off the board, or some of their top picks. We've given them Walter Nolan, Mike Green, various players through the process here. Are they Do we give defensive tackle as an option? And that could be either Derek Harmon or Kenneth Grant. Do we go Jihad Campbell? Are they an offensive line type of team? Josh Simmons?
Yeah, I think you have to give them defensive tackle. I would go edge again, just because there's still a couple they could theoretically go with. Offensive
Campbell,
and Jihad Campbell,
safety?
and then an offensive lineman.
Zabel as a guard, probably the best fit. So you want to say
Zabel
edge?
would be a guard, but Simmons, I mean, Simmons could be their left tackle.
I don't know. I've continued to put Simmons as a tackle only. I don't want to just do that because Laramie Tunsil was the most classic tackle only, and he played 2 years of guard for the Dolphins after the gas mask incident. So it happens, right? Tackles play guard all the time. And I'm only saying that because they have two tackles right at the moment. But eventually he could be the Orlando Brown replacement. So Zabel's more of a plug and play guard, though, even though he's also converting from tackle. That's where he's expected to go.
Or center.
Indiana. Or center. Correct. So I would say edge, defensive tackle. I would say Jihad Campbell, and I would go Zabel as the next.
Yeah. Okay.
Option.
Zabel fills like the two most glaring needs on that offensive line.
I think the people are going to pick edge. Now, the edge options, we're running lower here. Donovan Ezeraku, James Pierce, Nick Scorton. It's starting to run thin.
Currently, Jihad Campbell is leading the poll, though, but it's all tight. This might be the tightest poll we've had so far between all four options.
Everybody's in the 20s. If it was defensive tackle, you're looking at Harmon, Kenneth Grant. It's a good mock draft here. Oh, Edge and Campbell are really close right now. We're gonna have to have.
We might need a runoff just from that.
So the runoff could be you go Ezeraku, Pierce, Scorton, and Campbell or something to that effect. Got to give it a little bit more time here. Pick 17. This is our viewer mock. The worst mock ever, though, is going to come up Thursday night. I can't wait to see what actually happens. Does this happen every year? People think it's going to be wild on that. Oh, this is going to be the craziest draft ever. I feel like we hear that every year. I remember specifically last year, Daniel Jeremiah said, hey, in rounds 2 and 3, every board's really crazy this year. You're going to see some people that other teams have as 6th rounders going in round 3. And I think we saw some of that.
All right. I think we can have the edge runoff now. I think edge is winning enough.
All right.
Now we got to decide which edge.
Donovan Ezeraku, James Pierce.
Scorton. Oh, wait. Shamar Stewart still on the board?
Oh, and Shamar Stewart. Yeah. Sorry.
So those 4.
I think he's a realistic option here for the Bengals.
Yeah.
You have him and Miles Murphy and Trey Hendrickson in there. We got a no way they pass on Campbell. You guys could still send your bets in. If you think there's no way that your team does something, you can email us. Check the mic at the33rdteam.com. We had a couple bet addendums. We won't have a show where we can update those, but we'll email you back if we accept them. We have to go through those. Some good addendums, though. This is looking close. I love that it's Shamar Stewart and Ezeraku going head-to-head here. You got the technically sound Ezeraku versus the athletic freak of Shamar Stewart. It's very close.
Very players.
39-36, 40-35. Shamar Stewart might be running away with it now.
Not running away, but he's definitely winning.
Not running away, but yeah, up a few percentage points. We're at pick 17. in our viewer mock draft.
And
Stewart at 40%. Is that going to be the guy here? 41%.
we call it when we get to 200 votes.
Can't see the vote. I see it 193. Yeah, call it at 200.
I think it's going to be Stewart.
Looks like Shamar Stewart to the Bengals here at pick 17.
Done.
So the edge rushers are really coming off the board in this mock draft. Seahawks up here at pick 18. I would put Stewart on the list for the Seahawks. Get your Gray Zabel up there for Seattle. I don't think Tyler Booker is a scheme fit. I think Zabel is. I like Jihad Campbell as an option here as well for Seattle.
Yep.
And do you want to go Matthew Golden at receiver?
Receiver. So Golden, Ibuka, Luther Burden.
Because they have JSN and Cooper Kupp. So I'd rather, as I'd put the 4-2-9 guy there.
We see this is another classic example, right, of the conversation we had before with the Ibuka thing. Like the teams that might be interested in a wide receiver, it's a tough fit shoehorning the available ones into the need that they have.
Right, because his skill set's very JSN and Cooper Kupp.
Yeah. Golden, I think, of that group is maybe the most likely to coexist with a different role. But even he, I think, is more naturally that kind of Z receiver that has a lot of overlap with JSN and Cooper Kupp.
So who would be the fourth? So Campbell, Zabel, Golden. And then who else are we looking at here?
A lot of edge rusher in the mock draft sim.
Yeah, I mean, I think they could use depth there. They've spent a bunch of second round picks there. They're okay at edge. I just think we're running out of value there unless they think like James Pierce on the consensus board. James Pierce is the only remaining first round edge. Consensus number 30 as of yesterday. What's he now? 30. Could they be Kenneth Grant or Derek Harmon? They have some big boys up front already. Like they've done a pretty good job of building their defensive line. They just drafted Byron Murphy in the first last year as well.
I wonder whether they would be in the Malachi Starks or Jahdae Barron market just for value
safety.
At this point. Neither one of them is an acute need, but they might decide that either one of them is an upgrade and could immediately go into the secondary as one of the top 5 players in it.
I'd put Starks in there. Put Starks as the 4th.
Okay, done.
Well done. I like the Jihad Campbell fit for a lot of reasons, for a lot of teams. Part of it is the scarcity of the position. Campbell's the only consensus board first-round linebacker. The only, and using NFLmockdraftdatabase.com, Carson Schwessinger from UCLA is the only second-round consensus linebacker. And there's only 4 in the top 100. And so if you're talking about from a scarcity perspective and Mike McDonald and the way they have invested in linebackers in McDonald's scheme historically, trading for Roquan Smith, this feels like one of those fits, especially, and then it's right ahead of the Bucs, who we also have loved as a Jihad Campbell fit.
That's the thing with Campbell. It's not even just that he's the clear number 1 guy in this draft class at that position, and is a legit, top linebacker in most draft classes. It's that this looks like a really rough linebacker class. And if you're thinking of taking one at any point in the draft, you might be dealing with slim pickings. So you might just have to take him if that's a position you want to address.
The people don't care about John Schneider's draft tendencies.
Good for the people.
They're going Gray Zabel. It's not.
I sent you that thing. Okay, it was admittedly it was ranked using Pro Bowls as a metric, which is not the soundest ranking system in the world. But his first draft pick, I think, was Russell Okung at the top of that draft, and he made 2 Pro Bowls. Since then, he's drafted 19 offensive linemen with a total of 0 Pro Bowls under their belt. Like maybe theoretically, I think he's right in a white paper term. I think this idea of maybe don't draft them in the first round, you get them later is sound strategy, but it's not working out for him necessarily.
I mean, they just drafted Charles Cross a couple years ago. He's looking like a pretty good. The two tackles that they drafted a couple years ago are good when they're healthy. Charles Cross and Abe Lucas.
Certainly one of them is, and he was the one drafted in the first round.
Gray Zabel's the pick here for the Seahawks at 18. That puts the Bucs up on the clock at pick 19. I would like to see. So Jihad Campbell's been our most common pick. I think this is where he's going to go. I'm not trying to influence the people.
Yeah.
Ezraku, I think, should be an option. Those next few options all look reasonable. Malachi Starks.
Maybe just go with that four. Jihad Campbell, Ezraku, Jahdae Barron, and Malachi Starks.
Outside corner. Now, are they definitely not going offense? I don't know if that's the case.
But again, I think we got four options.
3 deep. Yeah, they're 3 deep in investment in receiver. The tight ends are off the board, right? Like a lot of the offensive options probably don't fit. I like this is where Maxwell Hairston, a sneaky Bucs option, says somebody in the chat. I think this is where you can see Hairston starting to come off the board if teams are going to love the speed at corner here versus Barron. Just a different type of player than Jahdae Barron, even though Barron, I think, is a better football player.
Yeah, I mean, I think they could go in a variety of different ways here, honestly, but they would be the remaining options would be less than their 4 most likely places to go. Oh, this looks like Jihad Campbell runaway, Paul.
Somebody says that the Bucs don't need Campbell. Okay.
They might not need him, but they could definitely use him.
We're not drafted. You don't want to draft needs. Draft the best players you can. Stack up the talent.
And I mean, if they don't in fact need him, the only reason why that would be true is that Levante David is still there, and that's not a long-term plan. Like, even the two of them have been coexisting in these 1-year deals anyway. Like, you can't plan for him beyond a year.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we should have a whole show where we go through that. All the axioms. You're not drafting for 1 year. BPA, I think you just have to. Is the best player. Does it mean the best? Whoa, what if a fullback's the best player? Well, you rank them accordingly. Positional value should be baked in. There's a lot of different ways to consider those things.
Yeah, I mean, David's 35 years old. He's existing on a series of 1-year contracts, and as amazing as he's still playing, he's simply not you can't factor him being on the roster beyond next year.
Also, they can play football on the field at the same time.
Right. Campbell. That's what I'm saying. Even if you say that you don't need Campbell, the only reason why that would be true is because you have David and he's not a long-term fix to anything.
Yeah. Jihad Campbell's the pick here. There's a lot of nuanced discussions around positional value in the whole thing, but we don't have time for all of them right now. Broncos up at pick 20. I think Golden has to be an option here for them. Marion Hampton should be an option here for the Broncos.
Anything other than receiver and running back?
I would say Ezraku. I would add more edge depth there. Or that's how winning teams stay good, is by continuing to stack D-line talent, which is why I hated the tight end pick for Denver so much. Like, oh, we're in a good spot. Let's just get the tight end. It's the next need. It's like, no, just continue to get. You always draft in the first round the players that you can't get elsewhere. And I think an Ezraku is someone like that.
This has been a recent Ibuka landing spot in a few mocks.
Oh, yeah. I like it. So go Ibuka and Golden as different types of receivers, maybe. A Marion Hampton and Ezraku.
Okay.
Or one of the D tackles. Do you go edge or D tackle? Yeah, whatever. We got it. It's up there.
I think that's a solid 4 option.
This is where we've done this for probably 4 years now. This is where it's a lot harder to add the options, right? Because there's a legitimate 10 players that you could see the Broncos picking, or 5 different positions, right? Especially like when we get to the Chargers at 22 with edge needs, defensive tackle needs, wide receiver need, tight end. Like those are really big. Like we need a starter right now type of needs. And so filling those spots always a bit of a challenge. Yeah,
this is where the chat gets mad at us.
That's what I was trying to preface here. I almost feel like we should put up positions and then we can fill in the players later.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we should, but that then takes twice as long.
Yeah, I don't. Again, what else are you doing?
This is a fairly comfortable runaway win for Marion Hampton.
People like Hampton here. People like filling depth chart needs. They feel good about that. I feel good when good players go where the need isn't. Like when CeeDee Lamb gets drafted to the Cowboys and everybody's like, man, they already have Amari Cooper and they already have Michael Gallup and you're drafting CeeDee Lamb? Yes. Yes. Those feel good to me. Most people, they see, hey, the Broncos got starters everywhere, but they could use a running back upgrade, and they feel good about a Marion Hampton going there. Not me. I feel good when the non-need pick for the best player on the board is made. That gives me the feels.
That being said,
Marion Hampton.
Are we locking in Hampton?
Yeah, locking in Marion Hampton here for the Broncos.
Pittsburgh Steelers.
Shedeur's still on the board, right?
Yeah, both quarterbacks are, right?
All right. Shedeur, Sanders, Jackson Dart. Let's go QB.
Yeah, we got to do positions first and then circle back to who the hell we're taking if QB wins.
QB, Kenneth Grant, safety, or Malachi Starks. Maybe Barron. Let's go Barron. Let's go QB, Kenneth Grant, Barron, and Starks.
Yeah.
Steelers are up. Let me tweet this out. I got to tell the Steelers fans, come watch us. Any Steelers in here? Steelers fans, stand up. How many watch us?
Barron playing the slot for Pittsburgh would be pretty fascinating.
Oh, shoot. Sorry, Will. Steelers up on the clock.
All right, what's this poll doing?
What do we got here?
QB's winning so far.
All right, we'll get the QB runoff going. Let's do it.
Pretty tight between QB and Kenneth Grant, but I think it's QB.
Let's do it. QB. So you got Shedeur,
Dart, Milroe, and Shuck, right? Just the four of them.
Yeah. Or Dylan Gabriel. You could also write in Dylan Gabriel.
Or Will Howard.
PFF board still has Jackson Dart as a 7th rounder.
Yeah, pretty much. It's also got both Will Howard and Riley Leonard above.
Did they forget to update
Tyler Shuck?
Did they forget to update Riley Leonard as QB5? Did they forget? You could also write in Quinn Ewers or Cam Miller.
At least they didn't put Quinn Ewers above them.
All right. Let me tell you about ZBIOTIcs while you guys are making your picks. Surefire way to wake up feeling fresh after drinks with friends. It's pre-alcohol from ZBIOTIcs. ZBIOTIcs pre-alcohol probiotic drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. So here's how it works. When you drink alcohol, it gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's a buildup of this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for rough days after drinking. So pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down, and you just remember to make pre-alcohol your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. Gave it to our friends at the scouting combine, some late nights with drinking, some early morning meetings. They're feeling great the next day. So spring is here, which means more opportunities to celebrate warmer weather before drinks on the patio, that tropical vacation, or your best friend's wedding. Don't forget your ZBIOTIcs pre-alcohol. Drink one before drinking and then wake up feeling great the next day. So go to zbiotics.com/checkthemic to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use Check the Mic at checkout. ZBIOTIcs is backed with 100% money back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money. No questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/checkthemic. Use code CheckTheMic at checkout for 15% off. Shedeur Sanders is going to be the pick here, Sam.
What do you make? You're Mr. I'm buying all of the talk. Like Mike Tomlin has been as positive about Shedeur Sanders as basically anybody this process.
It's funny. Well, so the Steelers usually aren't good at hiding their feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they really might like all the quarterbacks somewhat close because they've been tied to Milroe, Dart, and Shedeur Sanders now. So, yeah, I'll buy it all. They like all of them.
I mean, does that just mean that they're going quarterback? But Tomlin in particular has been extremely positive about Shedeur and his attitude is where everything about him.
Maybe Mike's just afraid of Prime. Do you ever think of that?
I didn't know.
That's my read on it. Tomlin intimidated by Deion Sanders.
Okay.
Talking up Shedeur.
Chargers up.
We didn't get a chance, by the way, to get JT O'Sullivan on the show before. I'd like to get him after the QBs go. He was talking about Shedeur and his throwing motion and various things that I thought were really nice breakdowns, as always. Got to talk to JT after the draft. Chargers. Receiver just as an option. Do you want to start doing some positions?
Tight end is out of it. Receiver is...
I think Ezeraku is still on the board, right?
Yeah.
So I think receiver, because I don't know, between Burden, Abuka, Golden, they're all different reasonable options in their own right. I think D tackle, Kenneth Grant or Derek Harmon should be in play. I would go D tackle, receiver, Ezeraku at edge, and then something else.
They're probably out of running back in the first round since they brought over Najee Harris. People have been talking up the idea that Mason Graham could be a first round player. Would they be desperate enough not desperate enough? Would they be keen enough on Mason Graham that he's an option this high with the other two off the board?
You said Mason Graham. Which player?
Sorry, Mason Taylor.
Oh, I mean, I don't think so, but go for it.
I mean,
put him on there.
I'm just saying that's gotten some steam that Mason Taylor is a first round player.
Yeah, there's a few evaluators that have him as the first round. That's why I wasn't thinking. I was like, I couldn't think of who you were thinking of. We could put him up there. I think receiver, Ezeraku / edge, and defensive tackle are probably the most common options, and I would look at that.
Yeah, we'll throw those three options and then throw Mason Taylor in there.
Throw Mason Taylor. There it is. I'll say this: last year's draft for the Chargers looking really good. Joe Alt at 5, and then Ladd McConkey on the turn. Trade up to get Ladd McConkey. He must have. We kept saying, how do you unpack receivers 6 through 10 or 5 through 12 or whatever on the board last year? They went and got Ladd McConkey, and what a nice first couple picks for the Chargers last year. You say D tackle, the history of DI is that defensive tackle was always the terminology for a 4-3 team, but then a 3-4 team would call their defensive ends, well, their interior players defensive ends.
Yes.
And then nose tackle. And so you had to lump them all together. So a 4-3 defensive tackle equals a 3-4 defensive end and a 3-4 nose tackle. You have to lump them all into defensive interior, or IDL as people call it. If you say D tackle, now I think if you say D tackle, it's fine. It's just implied that's a 3-4 defensive end, because it's that terminology is not used as much, so it's less confusing these days.
Yeah, I mean, defensive ends. Yeah, old school 3-4 defensive ends have now effectively become defensive tackles in a way they always kind of were, but it's now just, particularly with sub-package defenses, it's just progressed that way, where we're now talking about edge rushers and then everybody else is a defensive tackle, which is not strictly true, which is why the designation is interior defenders or defensive interior or whatever. But yeah, I mean, if you want to call it defensive tackles, fine, but that's why they're not.
defensive interior is the winner here. So that's where the Chargers are going. We've got Kenneth Grant. Kenneth Grant's going to win this thing, I think, but we'll see. Kenneth Grant and Derek Harmon as the options, and we could throw in Darius Alexander. Who else?
Kenneth Grant, Derek Harmon, though there
Tyleek Williams.
And a couple of people say he could slide because of medical issues.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what those are, but that might see him slide. Tyleek Williams, is he a potential first-round player that's getting slept on?
I mean, we can add him. He's number 43 on the consensus board. He's next. Walter Nolan went at 11. So let's go Derek Harmon, Kenneth Grant, Tyleek Williams. Let's do that as the 3 options.
Yeah.
See where the people go. So what's happening in our mock, Sam, a lot of defensive linemen off the board, where it seems like a deep class where you're saying, hey, the Chargers will have some options at 22, or if the Texans want to go defensive tackle, or if the Bills want to take defensive linemen. They're coming off the board here, both edges, and now this would be the 3rd defensive tackle off the board here in 22 picks.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Kenneth Grant. Comfortable.
Yeah, it's Grant in a runaway. Number 78 gets 78% of the vote.
The big fella.
Let's do it. Kenneth Grant to the Chargers. Michigan guy. Michigan man. For Harbaugh.
Michigan.
Packers at 23. We got to have. So I think we have to have the receiver options here. Will the Packers finally take a first-round wide receiver?
This one feels like it has to be totally positioned for the moment. Receiver, corner.
Receiver, corner, edge. And anything else? Just go receiver, corner, edge. There's so many options
just
within
those
all
3.
of them.
Let's come back and figure out who the players are.
I mean, they could go D tackle too if you wanted to go Derek Harmon, but I think the people are going to go elsewhere.
Yeah, they have more acute needs at other positions, but they could definitely draft for the future and the depth at defensive tackle still. I would definitely rank it below the other 3.
This is our viewer mock draft. It's your mock, everybody. How do you like it so far? Oh, corner. So corner is pretty high here, and it looks like that's probably going to win. And the next best corners.
Well, but we got Green Bay specific corners.
Has Barron gone? Is Barron still on the board? Did I forget him?
Yes.
Yeah, so we have Barron, Maxwell Hairston. That's who I gave in the mock. That's who the Packers fan site. Cheesehead TV said it's Hairston.
Yep.
I would just give the next consensus board corners: Jahdae Barron, Maxwell Hairston, Trey Amos, Shavon Ravel.
Okay.
Or Benjamin Morrison. Ravel's next on the consensus board, though, by a little bit.
Morrison, I don't know, fits their profile at corner.
Whoa. Barron is running away with it.
Yeah, this is going to be comfortable. 150 votes in. He's already 61%.
The chat is theorizing a whole bunch of different players, too. Is it Darian Porter? Is it Hairston? So Jahdae Barron's going to be the guy. Let's do it. Barron to the Packers here at 23.
Done.
Puts the Vikings up on the clock. I kind of like going position here, Sam. It helps some of the questions that we have on which players to add. So, receiver. We have another first-round running back in Peter Schrager's mock draft.
I mean, they're definitely a corner team as well.
Corner. Hairston would be interesting here.
What is their Starks?
I would say safety, because then you could give them Starks or Eamon Warrior as options. I would go safety corner, receiver. And running back. Travion Henderson.
I mean, this is a classic trade down spot, but again, it's like, are you going to get the trade partner? Now, with Malachi Starks on the board, maybe you would. Like maybe a team would trade up for Starks, try and stop his slide. But yeah, I think given given the needs, given the board, and given the draft picks that the Vikings have this year, I think it's almost more likely than not that they're going to try and trade out of this spot.
No, I completely agree. I just trying to predict who teams are going to trade up for. We'll talk about that in a second. Do you want to just go corner, safety, receiver?
Yeah.
And then guard, I don't know, throw guard in there or O-line. Why not?
Yeah. I mean, okay.
So trying to predict who teams could trade up for. Like I said, Ladd McConkey got traded up for last year. Xavier Worthy was traded up for. Like, is somebody going to love Luther Burden? And the Lions are just in love with Luther Burden. And they want to come up again. They want to trade with Kwesi and the Vikings again. Like, very difficult to predict.
Yeah.
Actually, now that I'm looking at the board, I could see the Lions maybe wanting Ezeraku here as a player. Now, they could predict he's going to fall. He's going to get past Houston and the Rams and probably the Ravens for the side, so.
Right. Safety's winning the poll. Do you want to have a runoff with Starks and Emanwari?
Yeah, let's do that. I'm surprised. Starks, Emanwari, and Makuba.
I would just do Starks and Emanwari, and I think it'll be Starks comfortably, but just to make sure we've given them the option.
I like it. Starks and Emanwari. It's a runoff. I see the people asking about Derek Harmon. It does feel like Javon Hargrave and Jonathan Allen, off-season additions as interior pass rushers, who are both a little hit or miss against the run. That feels very much like what Derek Harmon is. And they didn't just bring those guys in for 1 year. I mean, they're paying those dudes.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they would go invest again at a defensive tackle.
Again, they might if they had more draft picks to play with, and maybe if they're able to trade down and recoup some of those, Harmon would be an option. I'd be pretty surprised if they took him at 24, given the current state of play.
All right, Malachi
Starks wins easily.
Texans up on the board.
Simmons.
Josh Connerly. Simmons and Connerly. So we can say do you want to do positions again, or do you want to pick players? Receiver, tackle, defensive. I mean, Harmon is the next defensive tackle. I know you've done that a couple times. I kind of like that as an option.
Yeah, okay. I guess we could do that. Tackle, wide receiver, defensive tackle.
Anything else?
I think probably those three would work, right?
Just those three? That's where the values fall. Let's do that. They're a good roster. I mean, they've come a long way, Houston, where just a few years ago we're talking about they don't have impact players anywhere. I mean, Tyler Booker, guard generally. Is that an option?
Okay,
Again,
there's a runaway for tackles. Now you got to choose which tackles we're running off. Just Simmons and Connerly?
No, we'll give them the next couple options. You can go Ursery. Yeah, just throw Ursery in there and Savanaia, Arizona.
Well, what about throwing Donovan Jackson in there as a hedge?
Yeah, throw Donovan Jackson. I like that. Okay, yeah, Donovan Jackson. So guard / tackle. Remember, they signed Cam Robinson to a 1-year deal to play left tackle.
Yeah, so Josh Simmons, Josh Connerly, Donovan Jackson, and Arante Ursery.
Donovan Jackson's definitely an interesting one. I don't agree with you. I don't think he's a tackle at the next level, but he plays guard. But showing that he could do that in a pinch always helps. It's so to Ohio State. So it's ironically the Ohio State left tackle Josh Simmons and his injury replacement at left tackle Donovan Jackson in the same poll here.
Yeah. And I don't think he necessarily is definitely a tackle at the next level. I just think he has the potential to do it. And in this world of try him at the more valuable position, I would give him a shot.
Fair. That's generally how I go. It looks like Josh Simmons is going to be the pick here for the Texans.
Yep, which makes sense. Chalk again.
More chalk picks here by our group. Is that what happened last year? I'm not influencing the chat whatsoever, by the way. Am I influencing the chat? I don't think so. I will influence you to check out our friends over at Timeline. You get 10% off your order of MitoPure at timeline.com by using code CheckTheMic at checkout. MitoPure is a supplement that can help you because it encourages cellular renewal. It works by promoting an essential cellular cleanup process that clears out dysfunctional mitochondria, aka your cell's battery packs. There are no supplements on the market that have better clinical research shown to be effective at targeting the effects of age-related cellular decline, and with regular use, you'll see and feel the difference in the form of improved energy levels, better workouts, faster recovery, more endurance, and more. In fact, MitoPure is shown to deliver double-digit increases in muscle strength and endurance without a change in exercise. So MitoPure is research-backed. It's the research-backed innovation that unlocks your fullest potential. Awaken the strength, power, and resilience already in you with the first and only supplement clinically proven to rejuvenate health at the cellular level. Again, Timeline's offering 10% off your order of MitoPure. Go to timeline.com/checkthemic. That's TIMELINE.com/checkthemic. All right, Sam, get the Rams up next. Another position one. It's an interesting group of players that you have there. Mock draft sim.
Yeah. It's kind of all over the place, the Rams.
See how,
and honestly, it sort of feels like that all the way through the process. It kind of feels like their mocks have been everywhere.
Let's give the safety option of Eamon. Let's give the cornerback option as a position. I don't know if the next tackle on the board might make sense. We talked Havenstein, Connerly, maybe. Havenstein heading into last year of his deal. And are they a sneaky quarterback option, as the chat's suggesting here?
People have been talking
Derek
about
Harmon?
that. Like, they've come up as this team that could snag a quarterback if one starts to fall. But they're in a kind of vaguely, not a similar boat to Minnesota, but they don't have a second-round pick, right? So if they're using their first-round pick on a quarterback, they don't have another pick until, the bottom end of the third round.
I agree. That's difficult.
Now, they then have two of them, but the point is you're basically passing up like almost 3 full rounds of potential impact starters for the quarterback that is at best the future plan.
I would say Josh Connerly and Derek Harmon as the next best tackle and defensive tackle options, and then corner as a position, and then maybe safety. The next safety is even Worry on the board. I don't know if anyone else is going round one. Do we throw wide receiver in there? Just trade it for
similar kind of.
They just signed Devontae Adams to go with Puka.
So it's different because you can always get more wide receivers on the field, but it's like, would you spend the first round pick on a guy that's going to be that low down the depth chart?
Are they the one of the sneaky Mason Taylor options? If Mason Taylor is going to go in the first round, Rams, Ravens, Commanders, maybe, like all those teams, Chiefs, they all could be in play if he was going to go.
I mean, they would need to love him relative to Tyler Higbee, who's been solid. I don't see them really going skill position player, to be honest.
Okay. So what do we say? Corner.
I think tackle should go in there. Who else is available?
I think Derek Harmon's an option. Even with all the defensive line investment they've made the last couple of years, Harmon's a nice complement to what they have. I like that suggestion. DB, wide receiver, D line, and O line. And then we have
Let's do that
we
to
give
start
the
with.
options. Yeah. DB, which could include Imanwari or corners. O line, receiver, and whatever. There we go. You guys figure it out. This is your mock, everybody. We should just do positions because it's your mock. No influence whatsoever. It's our viewer mock draft. Closing in on 2 hours here. Do I have CTE? No, I'm just 43.
There's another Steve in the chat as well. I'm never sure if that guy is talking to you or
I
the
thought.
guy in the chat.
Okay. Yeah. Hopefully, talking to the other Steve. I hope I don't sound that bad.
You've only strapped on a helmet once.
Didn't take any bad hits.
No,
I did. What did I walked into the doorway yesterday? I think
that's true. You have taken a lot of hits.
You've seen how many times I've hit my head.
Football related.
You saw one of my top 5 worst hits to the head when I walked into the roof of whatever we at the media party in Arizona. Almost went to the ground on that one.
I mean, forget you almost going to the ground. You almost took down like a hut that was being used for the keep the food dry.
It's so bad. We were making fun of Chris Sims for tweaking his knee playing with his kids. I just walk into things. All right, defensive back. We got a runoff for defensive backs. Let's add Imanwari as a safety option. Maxwell Hairston at corner, Trey Amos at corner, and then your next favorite corner. Siobhan Ravel, I've given him.
Yeah, it's probably got to be Ravel.
Yeah, let's do that. So Hairston, Amos, and Ravel are the next 3 corners on the consensus board, and then we'll throw Imanwari in if you really want an athletic safety. How's that? We're cooking. Ravens are next. A few more picks to discuss here. Got to keep the energy up all throughout draft. I can't wait to just see it unfold. We're finally going to get some answers tomorrow night, Sam.
All 4 options currently above 20%.
Wow, this is going to be the closest. Trey Amos taking a slight lead here. Walt says you got to take the best player. That's true. Who is that? Who's the best player? Who is it? Amos is up 6%, 3%, sorry, over Hairston.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to win. Barring a late surge for one of the others.
Only at 144 votes. Let's see if I can influence the chat. Go Hairston. Go Hairston. Watch. Everybody click Hairston. Who did I pick? I think I took Imanwari. I just clicked the button so I could see the results. I think Trey Amos is getting the win.
I think it's Trey Amos.
Amos to the Rams. You guys are just copying my mock draft. All right, Ravens up on the clock. Do they go? I think edge as an option for them. You've given them a receiver a bunch. I think receiver is an option for them. I think defensive tackle, Harmon specifically, should be an option for them. And then the next corners.
Yeah, I think they're another team that could go in a variety of different spots particularly on that defense.
You want to go
maybe in the wide receiver market?
I think just where the value is now.
Yeah. Ravens fans don't like that. We've had that a few times, and they've been like, "Nah, they don't need a wide receiver."
Yeah, I mean, what are they going to do with? Are they going to pay Rashad Bateman?
I mean, they don't not need a wide receiver. It's like you've got Bateman, who's still question mark. You've got Zay Flowers. You've got DeAndre Hopkins at the end of his career. Like it's not, it's fine, but it's not like it's so good that we're like we don't need any kind of wide receiver at all.
Right. Let's put all those let's just put those options up there. Wide receiver, edge, interior offensive line with Booker could be a really nice fit here.
So
I feel like it's either Harmon, Booker, because Donovan Jackson too. So let's go. Let's say D line, adding edge and D tackle. Interior offensive line, wide receiver, and corner.
Okay. So D-line, interior offensive line, wide receiver, and corner. That's the 4.
Yeah.
This is a deeply the lack of integrity, I think, in some of the poll questions is concerning. Like I think we're wildly fudging results by like splitting positions or condensing positions. I think that's manipulating the results. I don't think we're aware of exactly how it's manipulating the results.
How have we done that?
I'm pretty sure it is.
We haven't done that yet. Have we done? This is the first time we've added D-line.
No, but we've had runoffs of specific players versus position groups, and I'm just saying, I don't think the integrity of our polling has been as sound as it could have been. We need some oversight and some regulation here.
We could go. We could go the old way. We just had people type it all in, and we just go with what we think we see the most. Everybody just type in the player that you want, and we'll see if we can find a consensus. Plus, it's good for the algorithm. Did D-line win?
Yeah. Yes, it did.
D-line win. So the next best edge rushers and Derek Harmon as options.
The next best edge rushers. So Ezeraku, Derek Harmon, James Pierce, and Scorton? Or are there any of these other names that would be potential first-round picks for Baltimore specifically?
So the Ezeraku is the one I don't know if he would be. Is he too small for them? Even though I love him as a player.
I think he's in. I'm thinking more like, are any of the random Tyleik Williams, Braden Swinson, Darius Alexander groups potential?
Tyleik could be. All I'm saying is Scorton seems like he might be a better fit for the Ravens than Ezeraku or Pierce.
Tyleik's a very Ravens-shaped defensive tackle.
Ravens-shaped. He's definitely Ravens-shaped. It's another one. I don't know if they would if they don't want to pay Travis Jones the way the D-tackle market's going.
I would do. Yeah, I would do 2. I would do Derek Harmon, Tyleik Williams, and then pick 2 edge rushers of these 3.
Ezeraku and Scorton, and we just push Pierce down.
Yeah,
let's do that. So the financial decision that they can make, Tyleik is more of a pure run-stopping nose. He's got some similarities to Travis Jones. Travis Jones heads into the last year of his deal. He's solid interior defensive lineman, nose tackle type. That guy is going for 15 to 20 million right now.
And don't forget the pedigree that the Ravens. Okay, they've got a different defensive coach there throughout this entire run. It's not necessarily the same guy the whole way, but they've had Brandon Williams, Michael Pierce, Travis Jones. Like, they have specifically coveted this shape of big nose tackle in a way a lot of other teams haven't.
Now, at the same time, they got Travis Jones in the 3rd?
Sure. And none of those guys, I think, were high draft picks, right? All of them were lower down.
And that's usually where you get those guys. So I don't think they would do it in the 1st, but I could see them trying to make that business decision. Hey, we like Travis Jones. We don't know if he's going to get paid that type of money. We're going to let him walk and replace him with 3rd-round pick, 2nd-round pick. It's Derek Harmon at 40%, Ezeraku at 36%. Harmon, you can make a similar. He's not the run-stopping nose. He's more of a pass rusher. I would love to see him next to Madubuike rushing the passer.
Sure.
And I see a lot of people reciting the injury concerns for Derek Harmon. I don't know what those are, right? There's similar to the off-field stuff. We don't know the extent of those or what that's going to look like in each team's medical room.
Yeah, agreed. And that's more of one where, if he starts to slide on draft day, just remember that people have been talking about injuries as opposed to us being able to accurately interpret what that means, what that is, where you should therefore take him as an on-field. The tape says 1st-round player, but if he starts suddenly being there in the 3rd round, that's probably why.
Derek Harmon's going to be the pick here for the Ravens. I see the chat already getting excited about Donovan Ezeraku to the Lions.
Yeah,
I think that's an option. I think it's an option.
I mean, do we need to go beyond edge rusher for them?
So you could say Ezeraku. You could do Pierce just to put it out there, because we've done that a few times. I think Tyler Booker could be in play. And look, wide receiver is the other sneaky one here. The wide receiver depth is good at this point in the draft. Jameson Williams, there's some trade rumors about him. And we've talked about how often that, can they tie everybody up long term? Can they tie all those good players up long term? I don't know if they can.
Yeah, so they've got obviously Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, Tim Patrick re-signed for them, and then it's Khalif Raymond and the like.
Yeah. And just to clarify, when I think of receivers, I don't think of, they have their two, they're good. I think, do we have 4 good options? And until we do, it's always a need in my mind. So that's almost.
And as you said, it's a constant revolving door because the contracts are always coming up. So unless you have a Justin Jefferson or whatever, who you, regardless of what come what may, you're keeping him effectively. And for them, Amon-Ra St. Brown is that guy. Anybody else, you have to start debating the business decision of, do we pay him or do we let him walk?
There's a Jaden Higgins suggestion in there. I love it. Oh, I love it. Let's go. You got to give him you can't go position here. Edge, interior offensive line, which could include Donovan Jackson or Tyler Booker. Wide receiver. I think those are the three.
Those three.
Edge, interior offensive line, wide receiver. So this is why when we talk about best player available, and when we talk about positional value, if you treat the first round and you literally forget what's on your roster for a minute, other than QB, just forget it for a minute. And you say, in the first round is when I draft the very best player available on the defensive line, offensive line, receiver, or corner. And you just do that. And the only time you make an exception is when a Kyle Hamilton's available, maybe Jahad Campbell in this draft at linebacker. And you just do that. You just continue. You always take the best at those positions, because if you don't need an edge this year, you'll need it next year. If you don't need a receiver this year, you'll need it next year. And that's how you replenish your roster. Where's this poll? Where's it going? Strong edge. All right.
Edge.
Edge runoff here. Donovan Ezeraku.
Pierce.
James
Gordon.
Pierce. And
who
Landon
the fourth
Jackson.
Guy you throw in there be?
You've given them Landon Jackson before. We both like Braden Swinson.
I mean, I think these are the 4 names. Which is your favorite of those 4?
For a last one?
Yeah. Like, these are the 3. Ezeraku, James Pierce, and Gordon are definitely on the list. And then it's a 4th from Landon Jackson, Braden Swinson from LSU, Princely Umanmielen from Ole Miss, and then JTT from Ohio State, I believe, are the next 4.
Pick one. I would say Landon Jackson or Braden Swinson. Probably Landon.
I would go Swinson.
Oh, everybody's begging for JT.
JTT.
A lot of JT call here. JTT? Do it.
I could see him sneak into the first round. I mean, I wouldn't do it, but I could see it.
Oh, I don't. I don't see it. That's one guy I don't. Where's he on the consensus? Right around 50? The poll up. Yeah, we can add Tui Amalayo as the 4th. So we'll let the people decide. Do you want James Pierce for the Lions?
Yeah, right.
It's your choice. You can't get mad at me this time.
Make the right choice.
JTT's at 52 on the consensus board, right next to Landon Jackson, who's 51.
Yeah, I mean, you've made the point. Anybody that's ranked in the top 50 sneaking into the first round isn't insane.
Not crazy anymore. How many of those players have had their name written in a somewhat significant first round mock? So like TJ Sanders from South Carolina has had his name written in a Daniel Jeremiah first round mock draft. There's a lot of players who have at least made it at least once, you know? Looks like Ezeraku is going to be the pick. A lot of people looking for Pierce. 31%, but not enough. Donovan Ezeraku to the Lions. I like that.
That's a great fit for them, I think. I would
Really
love that draft pick for them.
I really would. And I'd be happy taking Ezeraku as high as 15 to the Falcons. And I think that would be a really nice pick for the Lions. Commanders at 29.
In this world of every one of these edge rushers has got some kind of red flag, like I think Donovan Ezeraku is a really clean prospect relative to some of these other guys.
He is. Commanders.
Edge rusher.
Next edges. Running back. Safety. Are they an Eamon Worry option here? Are they a cornerback option? Next group of corners. What do you think?
Edge rusher. I mean, I guess we give them positions again. Edge rushers, running back, interior offensive line, and corner.
Yeah. I don't want. Do you put running back? I don't know if I do. I want to put running back this high.
I don't think they will win, and I don't think they should take one in the first. But I think it's probably an option.
Receiver, definitely. So the thing with corner is they traded for Marshawn Lattimore, but he didn't look great down the stretch.
Yeah.
And think they could use another. So I'd go edge, corner, receiver, and just O-line. Oh, yeah, tackle, Connerly option. Just go O-line. All the go value positions. Edge, corner, O-line, receiver. I don't understand the Brian Robinson, Austin Eckler straight up hate at running back.
Yeah, I don't understand. I mean, I don't think they need necessarily a running back upgrade. I think they're fine with those two. Now, I would take one in this draft just because there's so much talent there, but I wouldn't take it in the first round.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this isn't fully like the Giants a few years ago. Remember, the Giants were in a rebuild and they made the playoffs. The Commanders, I think, should still say we're in the middle of a rebuild here, even though we made the Final Four. That's because they hit on Jaden Daniels, and that dude's special. They have depth issues across the roster. They've gotten better. It's a better roster than we thought, but they could use help at all these positions we're talking about here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you say we're in the middle of a rebuild, but you have it's. Let's not get carried away by how good this team is either. I mean, Jaden Daniels might be special enough that they're able to contend even with a relatively middling roster, but it is a relatively middling roster compared with a lot of the other kind of contending teams. Like that's a reality that they need to face. And so they need to, like trading for the players that they traded for, Laramie Tunsil, Debo, those are potentially impact additions and guys that can make a big difference, but you still need to draft well because you do have some holes.
All right, they're going edge rusher as well. 47% have taken edge. So that same group, Nick Scorton, James Pierce.
Yeah,
starting to get
Scorton, Pierce, and then two more.
Landon Jackson, Braden Swinson, or JTT again.
I mean, I would go with those. Let's follow the PFF board and our board. I think would be the same four guys. So let's do that.
Yeah. Let's do that. It's an edge-heavy draft.
But this is again like the edge rusher group. I think is going to be very much beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Like I had JTT ranked a little bit lower, but I can see a team falling in love with him and ranking him above the likes of Landon Jackson, Braden Swinson, Princely, Human Yalen as well. So I don't, but I can see a team doing it.
James Pierce Jr. out to a good lead here. Dan Quinn gets
this is another one, right?
Micah Parsons.
We got a lot of pushback for putting James Pierce to the Lions because Dan Campbell's all about the culture, and we don't take people that aren't culture fits, and that's James Pierce Jr. We're not going to make an exception for him. But Washington was all about the culture too, right? First year under Dan Quinn, everybody they brought in was a culture changer, a guy that would they make the exception?
Yeah, I mean, there's no team out there preaching bad culture. There's no like, hey, we're the we're the outsiders over here.
We're willing to take any form of character if the player is good enough.
Yeah, we're all about.
Nobody's saying that out loud, even if that's what they believe.
James Pierce Jr. is going to be the pick here for Washington, despite the culture questions. But yeah, even if you're a culture team, you still have that question: can we make one exception? Can we make two exceptions? Are we so? And maybe Washington in year 2 isn't. The reason why we brought it up for Detroit is they're into year 4, and maybe they're willing to make one exception because the foundation's so strong. Maybe it's too early for Washington, but hey, the people have spoken, not me.
And to revisit that conversation we had before about being as specific as we can with James Pierce, the culture and the off field that we're talking about, it seems to be an effort thing, his work ethic generally. How much effort is he putting into it in meetings? Is not even, you hear about guys, the first guy into the building, the last guy out. With Pierce, it's more the opposite end of the spectrum. Is he the last guy in the building and the first guy out all the time? And are we comfortable with that? That's the kind of stuff with him. And I don't want to sound hypocritical because this one's quite difficult to pin down because, nobody's sort of on the record with a specific, man, this one time back in April, he did X, whatever. It's more of a general thing that people are being concerned about, but that is his quote unquote off field / character concern. It's how much effort is he going to put into this? And is it at a problematic level?
This guy's like a top 10 Call of Duty player in the world. Don't know what to do with, I'm making that up. I don't know if Pierce is that good or what games he plays. All right. Bills at 30. I think corner's definitely an option for them here. They've done a lot of work at safety. I don't think receivers in the mix, but I really love the value the way the board is.
Yeah, so I think it has to be just because of that.
Receiver and maybe D tackle.
We're
really starting to run out of edge rushers here.
Right. Plus, I don't even know. Yeah, I mean, I think D tackle is a bigger need than edge rusher for them anyway.
Matthew Golden still on the board here?
Yes.
Let's say corner, receiver, and defensive tackle.
Just those 3, or safety?
And you can throw safety in there. Eamon Wari is
yeah, corner, receiver, D tackle, and safety. 4.
So if this is, again, it's a defensive line. That's four defensive tackles, and like 8 edge rushers have gone so far in a draft. This is what I'm saying with the league, leaning on positional value, big boys first, but you still have some tackles falling. You still have some offensive linemen falling. I think we're going to see more offensive linemen go tomorrow night. But this number of defensive linemen, I absolutely could see. I think it, and then it's going to look really good for receiver and corner value at this point in the draft and later, perhaps.
It's a really difficult draft to project because every mock draft you do, I think you come out with the same idea, which is, man, there's definitely going to be more of these couple of positions because they always go higher, right? Offensive line, there's going to be more wide receivers, but it's difficult to find the spots for them because of the specific player fits and the needs that end up getting ticked away. What's the word I'm looking for there? Ticked off instead, right? Like, I think more wide receivers will go in the first round than I'm ever projecting in one of these mock drafts, but it's tough to find the landing spots for them.
Looks like corner's going to win it here. 41% corner. Receiver's close. Oh, this would be interesting. Back-to-back receiver picks here for the Bills. Well, Keon Coleman wasn't a first rounder, but that was their top pick last year.
Right, and he almost was.
He was close.
Like, they had to trade out of it in order for him to not be.
Someone guaranteeing that Nick Eamon-Wari will not fall out of the first round. See, that's the type of thing I would not be confident in. Because you're predicting. I don't care what the player is. He had a great combine, but you're telling me the league, they just can't have this safety not go in the first round. Every team's going to have to have this safety in the first round when there's a million high value edge rusher, defensive tackle, offensive line types available. That's where I would not be able to make that guarantee.
Again, if you've watched more than like one draft, you should not be that confident about basically any player, because we've seen it happen too many times. It's silly to be that confident about it.
Bills are going cornerback here. So let's get that next group of options, right? It's Amos is off the board, but we have Maxwell Hairston still.
Hairston, Ravel.
I would put Azarie Thomas in there.
Yeah.
And my guy Benjamin Morrison, between him and Darian Porter.
Yeah, I was going to say, which one would you have, Morrison or Porter?
We could put Porter just for the fun, because he is
Porter would be fun.
He's a unique prospect, and just because I like Morrison, he's got the hip injuries, so we could say no to him.
Multiple.
Really quick, we were first to market with the Jaden Higgins receiver pick here. Mm-hmm. Higgins over Golden or over Luther Burden. Is that a real possibility here for the Bills at 30?
It depends if they finally want to address that one position, the missing skill set in this receiver core. Yes, but I don't get the indication that they do particularly want to do that.
Benjamin Morrison ended up being the fourth option here, but we got Maxwell Hairston and Javon Ravel running away with this. So if you're Philly, we'll get to Philly in a minute here. There's a lot of rumblings about them taking a safety. That's the one. If I'm going to say that they wouldn't. I don't think they're going to go safety with their pick. I don't think they will. I think they are. Now we'll see if the D-line run is this strong. One of those top 4 defensive tackles isn't available. 7 or 8 edge rushers deep, and maybe they can't. But Maxwell Hairston 47%, Javon Ravel 41%. It's within 5 or 6%.
Close. It's closing.
It is. Only 100 votes in. We'll give it a little bit of time here. Bills up on the clock, taking a corner. Chiefs and Eagles to follow here. What are we at? 107, 109 votes. Might have to call it here for Hairston. I regret my ranking of Hairston in the cornerback rankings. Luckily, nobody watched it, so nobody cares. Not enough people watched our cornerback rankings to care. But it felt like you could have put him as high as 4 or as low as 9, like I did. I'd move him up on a re-rank.
Yeah, I think you were harsh to Hairston.
I was. Those busted coverages got me. Give me so Maxwell Hairston's the guy here.
Yeah, I think we can call it.
4.28 speed out of Kentucky. He's the guy for the Bills at 30. Chiefs are up on the clock at 31. So another interesting. These receiver options are fascinating here. Josh Connolly still on the board here.
Yeah, so offensive line options, Josh Connolly, Donovan Jackson, Tyler Booker are all on the board. Ursary, the Minnesota tackle, who's ranked a bit lower in PFFs, but could be in that conversation as well.
Do you want to go players here? I think we could do this with Connolly, Donovan Jackson, Mason Taylor, and one other player.
I think they also, they could go, I think we give them positions again. Just let's get
receiver for the next 2 teams, just because the value looks good.
Yeah. So wide receiver, offensive line. Do you want to shoehorn them both together?
Yeah. Tackle guard.
No, that's clearly manipulating it.
Running back. They were doing some work. We had a Zoom call with Andy Reid and Travion Henderson this week. See?
What is the edge? They're still in the edge market or defensive line. I guess if we're giving offensive line, we can give them defensive line.
All right. O-line, D-line.
O-line, D-line, receiver, and something else.
Mason Taylor.
And Mason Taylor. You want to do that? Either Taylor, either tight end or running back for the fourth one.
There's only one tight end, and there's multiple running backs. So just say running back.
Okay.
I don't see them going running back here.
Correct.
If they're having. Good.
Yeah, I don't think they would. I mean, it's the fourth option for a reason.
Looking like O-line. And they'll have some decent options here. Again, the positional value aspect of things, there's so much depth at running back. If the Chiefs have to roll with what they have, I think they'll be all right. And they've got trench needs, both sides.
Yeah.
O-line, it looks like. You want to do that?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
I think we can call it. It's enough for runaway.
Josh Connerly, Donovan Jackson, Arante Ursary.
Yeah, Connolly, Jackson, Ursary. Is Booker a fit for them?
He's a better pass protector than run blocker. So from that perspective, I think so. I mean, he's a mauling run blocker, but he's probably better in pass pro. Just doesn't move that well.
And they have had, I don't think they've had necessarily a particularly consistent theme with the linemen that they take, right? Like they've had Orlando Brown Jr. in addition to other, more fleet-footed, sort of smaller offensive linemen. Like they don't necessarily gravitate towards one specific style.
Yeah, put him as an option.
All right, that's the 4 then.
The 2 picks left. This is the viewer mock draft. I always enjoy this. Let you guys do it. Let you guys make your picks.
So the 4 we're going with are Josh Connerly, Donovan Jackson, Tyler Booker, and Ursary from Minnesota.
Yeah, do we have that? Beautiful. If I'm making I don't know if I should do one last predictive mock with just my feels. I'm starting to buy Connerly to the Texans. I think I've said that a few times.
Yeah.
I think he goes higher.
Connerly,
maybe it's Mike Tice influencing me.
I was going to say, Connolly's got that interesting thing where a couple of people are crazy high on him, but his sort of consensus level isn't moving towards like bottom of the first round.
GM, what's a good mock? GM Walt.
Comfortable win from Connerly by the looks of it.
All right, Josh Connerly to the Chiefs. Chiefs fans just have a lot of PTSD with, tackles being drafted and not panning out yet. So you could say, hey, like we just hope Wande Morris and Kingsley Suamataia, we just hope those guys work out as offensive line options, or you can keep swinging because it is that important, right? It is that important for the Chiefs to have their offensive line intact, as we've seen. All right, Eagles, receiver, safety. Or do you want to do players? Scorton.
I mean, let's just do positions first. Receiver, safety. I mean, D-line still in there.
O-line, D-line. O-line, D-line, wide receiver, and then you throw safety in there. Because the people said Imanwari will not fall past the Eagles. The people, one person. Look at you, Will. Well done. Will's ready to wrap this thing. Tomorrow night, y'all joining us? Tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. We're live for the actual draft. We get all the answers. The real mock draft is tomorrow night. Friday night, 6:30, we'll be live and reviewing all of the day 2 action.
D-line leading the way, wide receiver second, safety third, and offensive line a distant fourth.
Now, the D-line options are interesting because they've dwindled a little bit.
Yep.
So we've had 7 edge rushers and 4 defensive tackles go so far. 11 out of 31 picks have been defensive linemen. All right, did D-line win? What happened?
Yep. So consensus board wise, Nick Scorton is the top guy, but he's only 2 spaces ahead of Tyleik Williams. Who else is up? Landon Jackson is a few spots further down. Darius Alexander is at 52. JTT at 53. TJ Sanders at 55, Princely, Newman Yalen at 58. It's quite a lot. Like there's a lot of these guys, but they're all sort of in that 50 range.
So I would lean toward the pass. So go Scorton, of course. I would lean toward the pass rushers. We could throw Omar Norman Lott in there just as a homage to the PFF board here. But I wouldn't put like Tyleik Williams as a run stopping nose. I wouldn't add him. I wouldn't add JTT as more of a run first edge rusher. So I'd say Scorton, Landon Jackson, because he could do a little off the edge rushing the passer, Swinson, and maybe Darius Alexander.
Yeah, that makes sense as a 4. One guy is very keen on JTT.
That's one person spamming JTT.
Yes.
Like the estimate people last year. We're not going to kick him out because it helps the algorithm. No, I'm just kidding. All right, Jalen.
Probably put him in a timeout, though.
You probably do need a timeout. Are we going to be predicting each pick tomorrow? I don't know. What do you guys like as analysis? To me, I don't like the analysis that's like, hey, I wonder what this team's going to do. Like, we've just done that for months. I'm talking night of the draft. We've just predicted I would rather react to what actually happened and spend more time on that.
Yeah, and we'll have had an hour and a half almost of discussing the draft before the draft even starts. Like we'll be starting at 7. The clock starts at 8. They'll take up the full 15 minutes to announce Cam Ward. So there's, 75 minutes before we even get to a pick to react to. And that pick is one we've known about for weeks now. So you can effectively say there's 90 minutes of conversation before we even react to the first theoretical unknown of the draft, which is the Browns probably drafting Travis Hunter.
Yeah, so I would rather spend my time reacting. Like now that we know that Travis Hunter's going to the Browns, we spend time talking about that fit and how they're going to use him in the current depth chart situation and what they didn't do. Like who did they choose Hunter over? That type of thing. I would rather that than Hunter to the Browns. So let's jump to the Giants. What are they going to do? Let's predict it. I'd rather react. So that's what we'll do. Team building discussions, reacting, that whole deal. All right. Nick Scorton's going to be the guy for the Eagles, pick 32. The 8th edge rusher off the board. The 12th defensive lineman off the board. The people have spoken. The D-line is going to be big tomorrow night. The people haven't chosen Matthew Golden at receiver. Haven't chosen Luther Burden, Emeka Ibuka. Some of the receivers have fallen. I could see that on draft night here, Sam.
Yeah. Big slide. But again, I don't think it will.
They're influenced by us, and we don't love Golden, and he's fallen because maybe we don't love him. He could go as high as 12. That's realistic.
That's the thing. I don't think the receivers will fall like that, but it is difficult to find the natural landing spots for them. Like I think ultimately some of these teams that we talked about who don't really have a receiver need or who have some redundancy in the receiving core are just going to say like these guys are too good, or we're planning for the eventual moving on of a different player, and they'll grab one of them.
All right, that's it, man. Tomorrow night we're live. So tomorrow there's going to be no regular. There'll be kind of a regularly scheduled 10:30 a.m. show, but it's not a full show. We're just gonna. I want to touch on the news and rumors. We're gonna have some fun. We're gonna buy and sell the latest news and rumors. You always call me a sucker, Sam, for lack of a better term. You think I'm a big sucker for all the rumors? Yeah. I'll put the ball in your court. I'll read out the rumors to you. You tell me if you're buying or selling, and I'll also let you know if I'm buying or selling the last minute draft rumors. So we'll spend about 20, 30 minutes, have some fun. But the big show tomorrow night, 7 p.m., leading up to the draft and live throughout the draft.
All right. That sounds good.
All right. That's it for us today. Appreciate everybody for being here. Happy NFL Draft Eve. We'll see you again tomorrow with more. Oh, you want to check the mug time?
I got a new one.
Old Faithful. What's that now?
It's a local. It's a donut place. It's near me, but it's very similar to the Old Faithful Mint Mobile free mug.
It's got your right shape. Yeah. I've noticed some. I get some cuts in my. I might need to replace the Yeti. If someone This
Stealing
exact
yours?
Yeti shape. If someone wants to put this up in a bet, we've a lot of coffee up in the bets. But if somebody wants to put up a new Yeti in the bets in exchange for a hoodie, I'm down for that. We should get some donuts for tomorrow night too, for the show. Will they sponsor the show? We try to get the local.
I mean, whatever about the caffeine crash, like where that's flirting with a sugar crash in addition to that.
Do you want to run a poll for where we should eat? Do you want to go get dinner tomorrow night or late lunch?
Oh, I don't think I want to leave the house tomorrow.
Yeah, probably not. But where should we eat? I'll order. We'll DoorDash together.
DoorDash it in.
Where should we eat? Studio's coming next month. We're on our way to the studio. We just missed it in time for the draft.
Yeah.
So, what should we eat tomorrow night? Poll options. I'm not eating Skyline. Don't even put it on there.
No.
Do we go big and get Jeff Ruby's or one of Jeff Ruby adjacent, which is
Can you
the
DoorDash
precinct?
Jeff Ruby's?
I'll go pick it up. Carlo and Johnny's or the precincts. They're close enough to get takeout there.
I feel like DoorDashing like good food is bad though. Like by the time it rocks up your gaff in the sweaty plastic, whatever, it's
never great. Anymore. It's never great. What other options do you have close to your house?
There's a good Indian place near me, and that doesn't suffer from like a curry. That doesn't suffer from the plastic transportation.
I don't love that. I mean, the other thing for me, just because it's like a sporting event, it's like, do I crush 50 wings? Do we do like a 50 wing event? Yeah. Do I go Wingstop?
I mean, there's always the Walt option, right? Which is you just lash something in the smoker for the day, and then you're good to go before the thing starts.
I could smoke some ribs. It's too much work on draft day, though. It's still a lot of work.
It's not really though. You're just lashing on early in the morning and leaving it for the rest of the day, and then coming back to it later.
The ribs, it's like a 3-part process for me. The way I do them.
Do something different. Think about that. Do a pork shoulder or whatever.
Anyway, let us know what we should eat tomorrow night. It's time to wrap this thing up, though. If you're a mock, it's great. Check your mug. Bring your mugs tomorrow night. NFL draft time. All right, thanks to everybody for tuning in. We'll see you again tomorrow. Rumors at 10:30. Draft live, 7 p.m. Check the mic.